Hello and welcome back to Outside the Box, an MLS podcast. My name is Juanners.
This is Daniel.
I'm Jeremey.
I'm Joss.
And we're back. It has been a minute. MLS scheduling the midweek game so close is not conducive to running a podcast. Is typically one that goes 2+ hours. But the fans, if you're tuning in, you're a real sicko because you love this, all right, and we love it too. We love recording, just talking about MLS, finding some time to talk. But those midweek games just come with a lot more stress on your boy Juanners. So MLS did me a favor and had two of them just sandwiched in the month of May. I'm sure the month of May was just like, if you see some of these team schedules, like Dallas, we'll talk about Dallas, but they were freaking road troopers this month, man. They it's just a dense schedule. I don't know if we will have a larger conversation about the schedule, because we're gonna have a larger conversation about what happened over the weekend. The most immediate stuff when it comes to MLS is the Vancouver Whitecaps. We've talked about them, guys. We've fawned over them. They went into the city of Mexico City, and they got pummeled 5-0. It wasn't the only team to get pummeled in a Champions League final 5-0. So they're amongst some good company there with Inter Milan. But yeah, guys, this was a rough one. Just kind of days after, or right after LAFC had beaten Club America. You got two very clashing narratives going on. I want to start with Daniel though, because he's the resident shill. How are you defending this, man?
There's no defending 4-0 at halftime, and it was brutal to watch. And I think the general defense that typical, I say typical MLS fans, but people who really support the league and hate to see it fail, right? Their typical defense when we see this is, why are we hosting club finals at the home stadiums? And there's a massive, massive difference between playing in Vancouver versus playing at the 9,000-foot elevation of Mexico City. Now, that does not make up for getting absolutely curb stomped, because that is 100% what happened. Because they could not string together a pass through a midfield, and I don't even know if having Sebastian Berhalter even helps them this game. They just look like a shell of themselves. But there really is no defending it. And that's kind of my take on it. And I'm kind of rightfully upset that this result keeps happening year after year after year, as people who want to see teams in the MLS perform well outside of the MLS are also upset about it. And I don't really know how you fix it as a league of the... Well, I know how you fix it, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So how do you fix it in the short term? And I'm not quite sure that... I'm not really quite sure how to bridge that gap just yet. Now, I will say it was a fantastic run by Vancouver. Nobody thought that they were going to be there. They arguably had the toughest route to get to that spot, and they won a series in Mexico City to get there along their path. So I think we were all shocked by it, but I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I really don't think having Ryan Gold or Sebastian Berhalter helps them. The result might be a little bit lessened, but the result was going to be the same at the end, and I think it was inevitable. I think we were all just shocked by it because Vancouver carried so much momentum into it.
Yeah, I want to go to Joss here, but I see he's muted. Well, Joss, what do you make of it, man? Like, one thing that I noticed too is the midweek game. I think Vancouver was coming off that midweek as well. They had to kind of rotate, and they kind of were mostly looking towards that final for their preparation. But what else do you make of this, Joss?
The team of destiny. Is this the sign of a fall off for the team of destiny? Not so much about the game. I felt like Daniel does a good job in covering what actually happened in the game, but I think that so many times before we see teams who are riding this high of overperforming, slaying giants, the Miamis, on their way to a cup final, going to Monterrey and winning there, and see team just have that high and think that they're unstoppable, and then when it all comes crashing down, they fall off in a spectacular way. And I'm curious to see if that happens with this Vancouver Whitecaps team, given that it is like a new coach, players that maybe aren't used to being in a position like this. I'll be curious to see if this is kind of the beginning of this slide for Vancouver. So these next couple of games, I'll be curious to watch. Can they pick themselves back up from such a disappointing, like a catastrophic defeat, not even disappointing, and continue on this, because the season is not over for them yet. Obviously, I know this is a huge blow, but they're still top of the West. They still are an outstanding unit, an outstanding team with outstanding players. But is this the start of a slide off? So I think in the next couple of weeks, we will see just how strong mentally this Whitecaps team is.
Mr. Cascadia FC, I know you have your thoughts as well, for the little brother of little brothers in that in that that rivalry there between all the Cascadia teams. But like, what are you making here of Vancouver? And then beyond that, what are your thoughts on LAFC beating Club America? Because that that one is just as big, as well as the result for Vancouver. But what'd you make of this one?
I'm going to let Daniel shill all about the Club America game, but I feel like that's his expertise. But this is my expertise right here. Just embarking in one of the most satisfying hate watches I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing. And here's where I get really confused when everyone's talking about all this momentum that the Vancouver Whitecaps had heading into this game and how they had to rotate for midweek and like, oh, it's tough to go to Mexico City. Like the one excuse I guess I'll allow is that, yes, it is very tough to go play a game in Mexico City, but they've done that before during this run. They had to go play Monterrey, which I'm pretty sure is a higher elevation than Mexico City as well. Still with the same midweek rotations and all the nonsense, and the fact that Ryan Gauld has basically been absent for this entire run. So at this point, this team knows exactly how they want to play. They're used to the challenge of dealing with this heavy load of fixtures without their best player. And entering this game, I don't think they had the momentum that everyone was talking about. Because let's just recap. So on Wednesday, April 30th, that's when they beat Miami in Miami to earn their ticket to the final. They have played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games before this final kicked off last weekend. They only won 2 of those games. And that includes a 2-2 draw with Valor FC in the Canadian Championship. That was a game they drew. They didn't win that outright. And they actually had to grab a late equalizer in that game to stay alive. Now, I know it's just a bunch of fixture congestion catching up with them, and they've had to deal with this fixture congestion all season. But when you only win 2 games in the month of May, and both of them are to RSL, you've only beaten RSL twice. In that stretch, you have an LAFC game at home that was winnable, but they had to claw back from a 2-0 deficit. You get 0-0 in Austin, which I guess is like pretty par for the course these days. And you get 0-0 against Minnesota.
At home.
I don't know how much momentum they truly had going into this game, but this game was absolutely lost, not because of an absence of Gauld, not because of an absence of Berhalter, but because Andres Kubas showed up and played by far the worst game I've ever seen him play. As the lone DP on the roster, against a Cruz Azul team that's loaded with DP caliber players, including a former DP who's coming off the bench in Yorgos Yakimakis. So I think that everything went wrong at the worst possible time. I didn't see it going wrong this spectacularly, but it's very clear that this Vancouver Whitecaps team at the end of May was not the same Vancouver Whitecaps team at the start of May when they earned the right to play in this game.
Yeah, I think that was well said. I think it kind of, because I mean, I guess momentum isn't the right word, but they had this sort of floor about them that was kind of, consistent throughout, most of the season. And, as the legs, I blame it on a lot of it on the schedule, honestly. And I think, we have this debate. It's largely circulated, online about changing the schedule from a spring winter to a winter spring. And, part of me is willing to explore the idea of a winter spring if it means highlighting the CCC as what it should be, right? As like the pinnacle of North American soccer. Like it should really, like, and if we are going to say, if the league is going to say that, if the CCC is supposed to be this thing, then you need to allow teams like, the Whitecaps or any team that really qualifies for this to kind of at least get a leg up in some ways. Like the Club World Cup's coming up, and this transfer window only for a few of those players, only for a few of those teams to shore up their sides. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, but at that point, why not do it for the CCC teams? You know what I mean? Like I just think this final deserves a lot more than, and the fans especially, like not only just Whitecaps fans, but we deserve a lot more of a closer match than that. I will say, but the Club World Cup, as I mentioned, is just around the corner. LAFC did beat out Blue America at home, an electric Demon Denny Buwanga goal sealed their fate. He called it the $10 million goal. Very cool stuff. I guess we will go back to Daniel here because you are the shill after all, right? But tell us what did you think of this match? Because kind of a different dynamic where now MLS has this game winner in Buwanga, and they were one of the teams that got it done there.
So I think we first have to kind of set the stage because there was a lot of arguments on social media about the nature of which this game was actually played. Because Club America did not get a neutral field, even though it felt like a neutral site when you actually watched the game. I think there were more Club America fans there than there were LAFC fans, honestly. But yeah, no, that was like the general angry discourse amongst Club America fans. But what happens when a team like Club America generally comes to America is they generally still look really, really good. I mean, they're incredibly deep. They play a very, sort of want to use here, terroristic style of ball. That's not a good word for it, but where they just kind of run full speed at defenders, draw fouls, control the flow of game. Even if it's not a foul, they'll roll around and get a call from a ref because that's kind of what happens. And they kind of controlled the pace of the game for the first 60 minutes playing that same exact way. Now, this goes to show the depth that LAFC has kind of been able to build these last 6 months or so, because things changed considerably when David Martinez, who did not have his best game, got subbed on. Frankie Amaya, who looked really good, he got subbed on for the last 30 minutes. Olivier Giroud, who I don't know where the hell that came from. What do we call him? Oliver? He's Oliver on this podcast, right? I don't know where that came from, but he showed up in a big moment in a pretty big way, and he looked like he could actually string together passes in the attack. And that's something that we feel like he struggled at. Yeah, he hasn't really scored in the MLS, but that's kind of not really what he was. He wasn't just a poacher. He was a guy that strung play and held up the ball, and he did that perfectly against a very, very deep Club America side. And then Sega Thunder, who we might have seen play his last minutes with LAFC, because I'm not quite sure his condition. He got hurt subbed off after the 90th minute for Frankie Amaya, but he looked really, really good. And things changed when you got to see Dennis Bouanga, Olivier Giroud, Oliver Giroud, I'm sorry, and Cengiz Ünder all play in the attack together at an incredibly high level. And it was really, really neat to see. My biggest takeaway from the game would be allow pyros at MLS games. It added so much excitement, and I know every single supporter section in America would do it if they were allowed to. So just allow it. No one's getting hurt. Everyone in Europe does it. Just allow it.
Yeah, and they should unban the fans that got banned for popping smoke, because MLS is the first ones to use that for promotional material, right? But they'll ban the diehard supporters that, you know, are popping them. And so, you know, for as much as, you know, you want that atmosphere, it's also got to be, you know, you got to also
Now,
yeah, go for it.
as like from the perspective of the league and how this elevates it, it's really tough to have that discourse because Club America was not at a neutral field. Granted, they are Galacticos of Liga MX, and you know these are games that they should be expected to win theoretically. I don't know how much it elevates it on an, I guess, inter-CONCACAF level, but I will say from an American perspective and a guy who loves MLS footy, it is really, really, really cool having 3 teams in the Club World Cup. So kudos to LAFC. What a game. It was so fun to watch.
Joss, Jeremy, do you guys have any thoughts on this one? No thoughts. All right. What I will say,
I was waiting for Josh. Josh unmuted.
Oh,
I was very interested to hear what he had to
I
say.
know
I was building suspense.
yeah. Sorry. I'll allow you to further build some more suspense then.
Yeah, give me a couple seconds. Hold on. Right. So, no, I not very much. I think Daniel did a great job of covering it. I mean, Dennis Bouanga, he continues to astound me. He is like the quintessential signing that I think every MLS club should strive for. And I know that that's great to say in hindsight, but I mean, he came over in his prime from Ligue 1 and clearly loves it here. Loves playing in LA and loves playing in the big games that they play in. So I've always been such a big fan of that signing, and I think that he's such a good advertisement for the league, to show that, you know, players can come over even if they're in their primes and playing in a so-called better league and still succeed here and still become a fan favorite and still, you know, get called up to the national team, and still participate in big career-defining games.
Yeah, well said. I think if there was ever to be an MLS, like an MLS video game, Bouanga's like the de facto cover athlete, kind of face of the league. I know it's tough, but as you know, I think if you beat a team like Club America, the celebration that would be a perfect cover at that point. But what I want to touch on here is this is what MLS wants more than anything is they want this to be Leagues Cup, right? They in some ways had to buy their way straight there, because you know you're not going to get this on a friendly match, right? You know, if this game didn't have any stakes, it wasn't going to be as monumental as it is of a talking point, right? And so, you know, there's a bit of artificialness when it comes to, you know, how we got to about it. I mean, even how Miami qualified, right? Just they won the Shield and you know the or was it the Shield or Leagues Cup? I think it was.
It was Leagues Cup.
Shield.
Yeah.
Oh, they gave it to him because of the Shield.
Yeah, qualified.
The one trophy MLS fans don't care about.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, if that was it mostly came off as like, whoa, like, you know, moving to the goalposts. But you know, the Shield winners should be in this kind of game, right? And I'm kind of all for, you know, making the most of the schedule provided by the powers that be. But I just can't help but feel that like, man, we could be doing this for CCC. You know, CCC should be kind of where we get to this point. I want to make one more broad, I guess not assumption, but broad take here. If you win the Open Cup, you should be in the Club World. Agree? Disagree?
That
Could you
makes you a
imagine?
champion of a country. I
Also-
don't.
Could you imagine a Louisville City FC
That's what I'm
playing
saying.
the Club World Cup? That would be electric.
That would be electric. You know that would be. But yeah.
But could you hold that same standard for like the Canadian Championship?
Yes.
Like, if that's the case, then Toronto should be in the Club World Cup.
Okay, you bring up a valid point. Maybe it should just stick in CCC.
It's
I think
worse
that's
than
the
Louisville
best way.
City FC, probably.
We may never know. That'll be a fun Football Manager save idea. Putting the U.S. Open Cup team in the Club World Cup. But beyond that, you guys have any other wrapping thoughts on this before we move on to the slate of games that we have? Cool. Let's.
I think it's.
What's up?
I have one. I'm gonna do a transition here. I think it's very interesting to see the reaction from the two teams that quote qualified for the Club World Cup and the one team that actually kind of earned their spot, except they didn't because they're getting two tournaments for the price of one cup.
Well, please elaborate.
Explain that. Yeah, elaborate.
Transition. The Seattle Sounders this weekend, who lost 3-2 to Minnesota United, but all the headlines concerned the pregame, where the players had took to the field wearing custom-made shirts that featured the Monopoly Man with an MLS hat on. Good, good for them. Only the best people I know have MLS hats on. And he had the MLS hat on and a little bag, his little Monopoly money bag that said FIFA on it, and it said Club World Cash Grab. Because right now the Sounders are in the middle of a fight with the league, their owner, over a competition bonus for this tournament, which is probably the most money the Sounders can make from any soccer all year because of the insane pay structure that FIFA has implemented for this tournament purely to get teams to care about it. And I thought that when I saw those shirts, there was going to be trouble for the team, but it's also well within the players' right to protest because having earned the right to compete in this tournament, earned a little bit in quotation marks because they already played in a Club World Cup for winning CCL in 2022. But having this opportunity and still having a lot of the players on this team who were also on that 2022 CCL winners, I feel like they are not being fairly compensated for participating in this tournament because I would rather have the Sounders players get a fair portion, like around 50%, which I think is unrealistic, but I think they're at least entitled to that portion of the prize pool instead of having all of it go to MLS, where the majority of the cash is going, or their own owner, Adrian Hanauer, who, as we all know, is broke and desperately needs money. So that's where he is very broke because he decided to build a giant new training facility that they didn't really need and is too scared to open the purse strings and spend big on players. Because right now they have two guys who they acquired for free occupying DP slots. While the third is Pedro de la Vega, but we'll get into him. I think that this is the main story of the weekend. Just the fact that Sounders players who I know have probably exhausted all of their options finally took to the field in what I think is a pretty well-timed protest, a pretty loud protest, one that's certainly won general viewers over to their side, myself included. So yeah, I think that as MLS tackles the first actual Club World Cup that they're going to have to play in, not the little preseason tournament that the Sounders crashed out of in 2023, I think it's going to be really interesting to see just how this little dispute gets resolved, because it very clearly carried over into their game. Their big Sunday night soccer game where they lost at home to Minnesota United for the first time in their history.
Daniel, you said you have a question?
I do have a question, Jeremy, because I am all for paying the players, right? That is so important. That's how you make your players happy. That's how you bring more players over. But is the reason why they haven't yet out of greed, or is it because any bonuses they would get would count against the cap? Because I've seen so much stuff floating around that I don't know what to believe.
I think it's mostly due to a clause in the CBA about external tournament bonuses that the team is entitled to. Now, this version of the CBA, keep in mind, I'm 90% accurate. I have the year right on this. 2021 was when this new version of the CBA came out. And what's really interesting about that is there is already a provision for Leagues Cup in there. At this point in 2021, when the CBA comes out, it's just a cute little tournament between like 4 teams, 2 MLS, 2 Liga MX, and it's just completely non-serious. It's kind of like a mid-season friendly tournament, even though there's like a trophy at stake.
Is this
But there's a
Campeones Cup?
provision for the Campeones Cup became what Leagues Cup used to be.
Right.
So but in this CBA, they had a provision for Leagues Cup to where the players were able to make a fair amount on bonuses, and they were entitled to at least $50,000 per game or whatever the Liga MX players were getting for each game, and whichever number was higher, you take that. So they already had this provision in there, but no one could have seen what this Club World Cup was going to become, because no one is as insane as Gianni Infantino. So I think that the players union, there's a lot of talk of whether or not this is a serious oversight from them. I think it's interesting to consider whether or not it's an oversight. I can't really tell at this point, because once again, like, you have to be on the same wavelength as just this insane bald man who's best friends with like I Show Speed. So, which I think that's such an odd couple, and I love whenever there's photos of them together, because I'm just like, what the hell are we even living in right now? But I think that there's definitely power for the decision makers here, which is both the league and Sounders owner Adrian Hanauer, to fairly compensate their players, even though it isn't said that they have to do it in the CBA. They should still just do the right thing and pay their players more, because the Sounders have already received a historical windfall from this tournament. LAFC, like Kuanga said, $10 million goal. Miami, like, okay, whatever. Like, that's still more money. And even though the top end of their roster is making more than the entirety of other MLS teams' rosters, it's the people farther down the line who are really going to be benefiting from a tournament of this size and potentially the bonuses that come with it. So, like, when you have players making the league minimum and they have the opportunity to potentially double, maybe even triple their earnings for this year just by playing in these 3 group stage games, I feel like the impetus is more on the owners to properly share this money with the team and the players who are the only reason why they're playing in this. Because if you look at the Sounders in particular, they don't fork over a lot of money on transfer fees. And it really is just a collective overperformance from the coaching staff, from the players, from the academy players. If you remember in that CCL final, Obed Vargas coming in for an injured João Paulo like 15 minutes into this game and just bossing the midfield in this. It's performances like that that have made it possible for this Sounders team to play in this tournament. And those players definitely deserve fair compensation. And the ball is definitely in the league's court and the owner's court on this in this aspect.
After all, sharing is caring. And I want to point out that this is a Timbers fan saying this. When it's all said and done, he can put that to the side and go to bat here for the players. So I mean, shout out to you, Jeremy, just for kind of I guess not putting away the the beef to the side, but just like being on top of it, because it was a story I wasn't sure how to bring up because a lot of it's still emerging. I did see Tom Bogert write about it and about Hanauer, scolding the players afterward, because it's just very on par for billionaires to, exhibit some amount of greed here. But yeah, well said. Beyond that, though, does anyone else have any takes they would like to mention about the protest here?
Did you guys see that there was like an argument between the owner and the players after the game?
Yes, that's what I was referencing, the scolding.
Oh, gotcha.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I mean, it might, argument, scolding. What do you make of that, Joss?
That's crazy to me, dude. Like, I truthfully didn't really understand the intricacies of the protest until this recording. But I just think it's super unprofessional to scold your players for that. I don't know. Like,
yeah, because these are the guys.
It just feels like you're just antagonizing them,
For real. And I think it's like, how awkward is it to now ask players to go out and fight? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Man, it's a interesting one. Coming from like a Rapids fan myself, who has never seen Kroenke, around at the ground except for the Arsenal friendly. Like, I could only imagine whatever reason Kroenke would have to be in the locker rooms. Yeah, interesting situation. Talking about the game, Jeremy says that it kind of affected their performances. I would also kind of point to Stuart Hawkins, who had to have the start or had to come in for Jackson Reagan. Reagan's still coming back from injury. And another thing I wanted to talk about, I guess we could further talk about Seattle, but I wanted to bring up Minnesota because Julian Gressel has been getting starts at wingback, and it's not been as electric as when Bongi's in. So I'm starting to think Julian Gressel should not be the wingback in the setup. It should still be Bongi. But then at that point, it's who do you drop, Joaquin Pereira or Robin Lod? I would be willing to drop Lod for Gressel, but Joaquin Pereira, man, he's a fucking stud. He is one of my favorite players to watch. I don't know if you guys got that same sentiment here, but he knows how to put in a tackle, knows how to win the ball back, exceptional passing, and just a dog, dude. I really do like Pereira's game in this one. Anyone else have any things amongst the game they wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I have one thing before Jeremy sounds off on me for saying this, but this game should have been 3-3. Refs absolutely missed a penalty in the box on Rienzi in 35th minute, and the dude got clocked on a missed clearance. He got kicked right in the freaking eye, dude. And I don't know how that doesn't get called. I didn't think Seattle played that bad. Minnesota's a fantastic team. But I thought that was pretty clearly missed. But yeah, your take on Gressel is pretty accurate. I mean, he doesn't make the same runs. So yeah, he's better at swinging in the crosses, which we saw happen quite a bit in this Seattle game. But the attack does not look as direct when he's out there. It's almost like he's the player that they want to try to piece things together, like they weren't doing before, and they're still not piecing things together. If that makes sense.
They just gotta let Joaquin do that. Jeremy, what do you make of this one?
I would also like to piggyback on this Gressel Bongi thing, because I don't know how much of that is a factor of like Gressel just not being first choice there, because I still believe Bongi's first choice at that position. But it's also worth noting what Minnesota's schedule looked like this week. They had played at home against Austin the previous weekend. They drew that game 1-1. Then they had to travel to Vancouver for another 0-0 draw. And Bongi starts that game. He's subbed off at halftime. So the same thing that happens to Gressel in this Seattle game is what happened to Bongi in the last one. And I think it's a really smart managerial decision, actually, from Eric Ramsey to do the one half of Bongi, one half of Gressel for this, especially in the first half where the Minnesota is just going to be really cagey. And I'm pretty sure Ramsey had a feeling that Reagan was going to be on a minutes restriction, because Schmetzer really isn't that quiet when those players of his who are coming back from injury are not going to be playing the full game. Like, they're going to get an hour, maybe like 20 minutes or something like that. So I think that this was a really smart decision from Eric Ramsey to save Bongi, who is definitely the more electric attacker, for more electric option at wingback, saving him for the second half when that game is going to be won or lost, not in the first, when Minnesota is just bunkering. Because even if Minnesota goes into this game down like 1-0, which, like Daniel talked about the missed penalty, but it probably should have been 2-1 at halftime, because Paul Rothrock just completely misses a chance on the doorstep, and Tony Oluwaseyi heads a ball off a crossbar, which is from a cross from Julian Gressel, by the way. So I believe that I think Eric Ramsey just completely got his plan right for this game, as he's been able to get his plan right for so many of Minnesota's games this season. But the real story, at least on the field and in the game time, is all of what happened right after the second half began. And it's just both teams for a second completely losing their composure, where you have 3 goals scored in a period, just a really short period of time. Let me get the exact number on it, because it's ridiculous how quickly all these goals are scored. It's 3 goals in 4 minutes, essentially. You have Tawny's opener, which is set up beautifully by Robin Lode, and then Lode scoring a penalty. And then right after that, before the replays of Lode's penalty even stop, it's Kalani Kosarienzi on the other end, just putting the ball in Minnesota's net from a pretty good direct ball, and then cross from Pedro de la Vega, which, remember this is the only time the Sounders like actually go direct in this game, and they don't play directly indirect like they usually do. So I think that for Minnesota, this could be their best win of the season, purely because they've never won in Seattle before, and it's such a difficult place for them to play, and they had to do this on short rest after another extremely long road trip on Wednesday to play Vancouver. So very good win for them. Seattle, I'm not like too concerned about like the potential trouble in paradise that's happening between them and ownership. At least that's more something for the future, not so much this game, because Hanauer doesn't yell at them until after this game is over. And speaking of another little Hanauer nugget from this, he actually goes into Brian Schmetzer's press conference. And if you go back and rewatch it, you can hear at some point a door opens where and then Schmetzer like acknowledges that the door is open and someone's entered the room. That's Hanauer. And his tone just kind of changes after that. It goes from like the players have a right to do what they're going to do, and it's clear that he's completely caught in the middle in this. But then after that, it just becomes like this was a distraction. They were distracting themselves from this very important game that we have, that as we try and climb the table and like try to actually do this mid-season run that we just always do. No, we're being distracted and blah 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 blah. Like, so I do believe that although this result isn't like great for Seattle, it doesn't really say a ton about them other than they're just going to have trouble scoring against low block teams. And they've been having that for years because there just is never enough creativity in the final third for this team to be consistently scoring a ton of goals. It's really good for their XG as they just take a ton of half chance shots that really just farms that XG number up really high. But it's always misleading. It's very, very misleading with this team. So, I mean, good for them for losing to Minnesota on Sunday Night Soccer for the very first time in their entire club history. You really have to hand it to them.
You know, one team that can't say the same, that is actually can break down some low blocks, is San Diego FC. They hosted Austin FC, and it sucks because we were talking before the Minnesota match. We were figuring out our top fours of the Western Conference. I think Jeremey had San Diego as the fourth best Western Conference team. We'll be doing some mid-season rearrangements of our predictions. A little teaser for next week, but yeah, San Diego taking care of business at home 2-0 against Austin. Starting to see a lot more of the the identity from San Diego. One thing, of course, that was kind of following San Diego more than anything we didn't touch on was the brawl between them and LA Galaxy fans. I don't know if that was something we touched on, but I think one of the things I wanted to bring up is in the post-match presser, Varys opens the presser with, whatever happened out there, we condemn the violence, that has no place in our sport. And then later in the same press conference, it's when you see moments like that on the field, you will remember this. You remember this moment in the club's history. I'm I don't think people are going to remember this for that, But overall, San Diego Austin FC, what'd you guys make of this one? It was kind of a tidy performance from San Diego. I'll start with Joss. What'd you make of this one?
I think tidy performance is a great way to put it. I felt like it was professional. It seemed. And I'm just such a big fan of the San Diego system and how much they utilize Luca de la Torre as a hybrid 8-10. He gets released so often, and he gets this space to really capitalize on how good he is, on how skillful he can be. So I'm just a really big fan of the system and how great it makes Luca de la Torre look. Again, another move that I was like, this is a statement, I think, for San Diego. And so far I felt like he's been very, very good. Austin, on the other hand, have not been very, very good. I don't think they've won since April in the league. And it's kind of shocking to me because they went out and they spent, they spent a lot, and get the meme of what does he even do? But again, Azuni, what does he even do? I can't believe that they spent what 15 mil on this guy, and we're just not seeing that pay off. We're not seeing the attack pay off in the way that it needs to. Austin, and in times when Austin's defense, which they've become known for this season as being very defensively sound, as soon as that breaks down, it's not like they have the attack that can go and win them games. But on paper they should. So it's a really, really tough predicament for Austin right now. But a really professional win for San Diego, who I think are 5-1-1 in May, which is amazing, especially for an expansion team. I hope that they, if they win the West, that'd be awesome because it gives it can shut St. Louis up. So being an inaugural a debut team winning in their inaugural season. So, but yeah, I don't know. Austin, they're a question mark for me.
Yeah, and this is a San Diego team that did it without Jeppe Tverskov, who is probably one of the most, he's probably the most unorthodox six in it that he can just add to the attack whenever, right? And so for them to go out there and just, play, I don't want to say they played well. It was definitely a team that was at the end of their week, and the midweek games and all that. But again, tidy performance. The Austin one bums me out because I really do like Murto Uzuni, but you're right, he doesn't do shit in this league. I blame the coaching, dude. I'm a little bit also on Roto for signing two of the same player in Vasquez and Uzuni. And the big thing is you didn't need a target winger like Uzuni is, right? Like right now I see Uzuni on Austin. I see Kevin Cabral. I'm like, yeah, your DP is not doing shit. Our DP is not doing shit. Trade, right? And you get two new players. You get two players in different situations, different schemes. I think Murdo Uzuni would do better on a scheme where he can, have people create for him. Because right now there's no creator. And it's the same thing like for Austin. Like they're the atheists. There's no creator for them. There is no one that's gonna initiate a big bang of energy for them. Like they don't have, like, they played out of a 5-3-2 recently, trying to do a little bit of a Minnesota copying, and still they don't have like a Lod. They don't have a Pereira. They just have guys that are decent on the ball and not much moving it forward. But any other thoughts on this one, fellas? Because I hate Austin. I so boring. So boring.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy that the Austin hates caught on.
Oh, I'm
tired
here.
of them.
It's been here, but Daniel?
Yeah, sometimes terrorism wins with St. Louis, and sometimes it loses with Austin. We got to celebrate when it loses. To piggyback off Joss, Ozuni is the 7th most expensive inbound transfer in MLS history at $12 million. And he has done nothing.
Not even I think he's gotten a goal. Come on now.
He has one goal.
One is better
That's
than none.
$12 million for one goal? Shit, sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone do the math. How many millions of dollars is that per goal? Quick math.
$12 million, bro.
Whoa.
Whoa.
$12 million goal.
They know if they wanted a $12 million goal, they just had to qualify for CWC, right? Let's move on though, fellas. Let's go. You brought it up, St. Louis. Let's go to the opening game of the week, because I know you said sometimes it works. I don't think it's worked at all for St. Louis City, and I'm ready to say it. Their win here against San Jose was this to me like, fuck, dude, I have to compose myself because I get angry. Was this not the most fake win ever? Like, did we see how St. Louis was playing? And if you want to say new coach bump, I did not see a new coach bump. I saw players playing in a better setup, right? You got Jaden Reed at the left back, Joseph Zielinski at right back. Big fan of that. But then you have Chris Durkin at center back, because none of the other center backs are that good. And I thought Kansas City's center back situation was rough. No. Something about Missouri and having just terrible.
Whoa. Sporting Kansas City's based in Kansas.
Right. Something about KC and Mo, KCK, STLMO, whatever you guys are doing out there. Y'all gotta stop tampering with the center backs. But yeah, I mean, the scoreline will say 2-1 win St. Louis, but I really liked San Jose, and I think Preston Judd's making this case for one of the better backups in the league. I think he could reliably start for an expansion team if there was one to come by. But I'm gonna open it up to you guys. What do you guys make of this one? Are you as angry as me? Because I don't know, St. Louis, man, they're not real.
I have two quick thoughts, and then we'll pass it over to Joss. So my first thought is, if you were to tear down St. Louis and start them from scratch, Lowen is the only player on that team I would keep, and he just kind of solidified that opinion over this past weekend. And how angry were you, Joss, when you saw Kloss on the score sheet? I gotta know.
I don't. I hate
disgusting player.
Yeah,
Disgusting team and disgusting player.
Yeah.
That's all I got. I don't have a whole lot.
Oh no, it's a great question. I hate whenever Klaus performs for the St. Louis team, because I feel like 99 times out of 100 he doesn't do much. But you pay him to put the ball in the net, so that's what he did. Aside from that, I mean, like Juan was saying, I didn't think it was really bad for San Jose. They were on an 8-game unbeaten run coming into this, so I think it's more of a blip than it is of anything. I don't think that they were bad at all. Is what I'm saying. But
They rotated
I think
too.
If you
they rotated.
Yeah,
They rotated heavily.
Yeah,
Heavily.
Bruce is building something really. I mean, he's been building something out there, but it's really cool to see it come to fruition, and it's really cool to see what he can do when he's backed and he gets the players that he clearly wants. We'll never know what he did in New England, but it's cool to see what he's doing in San Jose. On the St. Louis side of things, Daniel, you're exactly right. I think Leuven is the only player on the St. Louis team that I would consider keeping if I were to like grind this team down to dust. Berkey's another one, I think. I still think that he can show, he's been able to show some moments and can give a couple more years to this team. But I want to I like Cedric Teuchert. I like to browse the St. Louis subreddit whenever they lose because it's fun and it's cathartic. And there is a lot. There's a building case for dropping Teuchert, and I'm starting to believe in it a little bit more. More and more, just because I just don't know if he just really hasn't had any sort of form resembling anything that he had near the end of 2024. So with that, it's maybe this change of system will do him some good. But I remember there just being so much hype around him coming over, and I felt like at the end of 2024 he was fantastic. But no, so far this season, not so much. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts?
I do have a couple. I would like to remind everyone that I picked San Jose 4th in the West at the start of the season, and I still feel really good about that prediction. This game does not move the needle for me for either team. I would, however, like to do a quick update, and I'm trying to remember if I've done this bit on this podcast before, but this is the Earl Edwards Jr. shots inside the box tracker.
Ooh.
Now, prior to the San Jose Earthquakes beating the Portland Timbers 1-0 in the U.S. Open Cup, Earl Edwards Jr. faced, I'm pretty sure he faced 6 or 8 shots inside the box during both of his starts, but both of his league starts against, I'm pulling it up. Both of his league starts against LAFC and SKC. Those were his first 2 starts in the San Jose Earthquakes jersey. He conceded every single shot he faced inside the box during both of those games.
Inside Colorado?
Portland.
The box?
Colorado, he was benched.
I mean, it was a joke.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then he comes on, plays the second half after Daniel gets hurt against New England. It doesn't really get tested in that game. It's kind of nuts. But then he puts on a man of the match performance against the Timbers in the Open Cup because, of course. The next weekend, they play Houston. This is where things get fun again because, fellas, Earl Edwards Jr. is back. He faces 3 shots inside the box. During the second half, he lets one of those in. He faces 4 in the first half. He lets one of those in. So now he's saved 5 out of 7 in that Houston game against the Galaxy. Man of the match performance. He's incredible.
Did we lose Jeremy?
I think we lost Jeremy. I was like,
I was ready to be like, dude, Earl Edwards is the reason why they lost. What are we talking about here?
we lost Jeremy. I think Edwards cut off his internet.
Yeah, he got
Before, are you gonna cut this?
No, I'll keep it.
just make it wrong. All right. So I just want to say before we move on, I could win the MLS team with an average Bundes 2 team. Not because of the talent level, but because of the tactical schooling players receive in the first 2 divisions in Germany. Look at the Vancouver. Just look at what they're doing in St. Louis. They do a ton of basic things right now, and they decoded this league in no time. We won 2-1 last week, baby. We're on top of the league.
Earl Edwards Jr. Did he? Are you back, Mr. Jeremy Peterman?
I am. I don't know what happened there.
We were speculating Edwards unplugged your router.
Oh yeah. Well, Bruce Arena did because he loves Earl Edwards Jr. so much that he just had to bring him over as the backup to a very injury-prone Daniel, where the biggest issue with the Earthquakes last year was that Daniel kept getting hurt, and their backup, William Yarbrough, now of Inter Miami, was stinky. And then their third choice, Jacob Jackson, who got in a couple games, was also very stinky. So I think that's still a very serious oversight from Bruce Arena. Just like, did you watch this team play last year? Did you see what happened when Daniel had to get hurt? So either way, once again, this result doesn't change anything for either team, but I did like Conrad Wallum picking up a yellow and a second yellow in stoppage time and then just waving to the fans as he walked off the pitch. Like, just how broken do the vibes have to be where, like, yes, you're finally winning a game for the first time since, oh my God, when was the last time they won a game? It was forever ago. March 15th against the Seattle Sounders. That's really funny. But how bad do the vibes have to be when you're winning your first game since March 15th that a player who is one of your new players gets 2 really stupid yellow cards in the span of 3 minutes after you took the lead, and he's walking off the pitch getting applause? Like, oh my God, man.
Took the lead fraudulently, by the way, I will say.
Yeah, very fraudulently.
It was San Jose that were right about to, pick up all 3 and then penalty the other way. As is the game, as is the game. We got Jeremy back though. No more Edwards or Bruce Arena to foil our man with the plan. Let's talk. Let's go over to another man with a plan. Probably one of the best plans, honestly, in MLS, and that's the Wilfried Nancy's Columbus Crew. On MLS wrap-up, they were saying that, in this matchup between Miami and Columbus Crew, that Wilfried Nancy came in with more arrogance than confidence because the high line from the Columbus Crew got exposed for, like, every one of these goals. How many goals was that? Oh, it was 5. 5-1 on the Columbus Crew. And it's tough because, usually when we get to the Crew section, it's like, oh, yeah, they're just very, very strong, very dominant. You know what I mean? Like, very, very much a lot of the narratives from last year that were following them. But now I think maybe it's time to kind of sound the alarm here because without Sean Zawatsky in their back line, this team is Swiss cheese, guys. It was just it was way too easy for Miami to get in behind, and despite wanting to play out the back, and I know they're missing Schulte. I know Nicholas Hagen, is giving up some pretty rough ones. He was a surprise starter in the last match, and then in this one he was the actual starter. But guys, I mean, we gotta. I mean, there's a big elephant in the room. Daniel Gazdag, since he's joined Columbus, we thought maybe it would have been a good fit. It was like this big, transfer deadline, final few days of the opening window, and Gazdag to Columbus was like, wow, like it. Now Gazdag, 0 goals, 0 assists. My boys, what is happening here? Where is it going all wrong? And then Miami on the other side, just it wasn't too long ago I was talking mad shit about them. They go on a run to prove it, and then we're back here recording, and they're back. They are back. They lost a little bit, and then they came back. But I'll open it up to y'all. Who wants to take the lead on this one? Because, man, 5-1. Joss, you got?
No one's excited to talk about this one.
I know.
Are we going to talk? I mean, Messi, 3 assists, 2 goals, 5 goals altogether for Miami. So do the math. How many goals was Messi involved in altogether? 5 of the 6 scored in the game. So that's just GOAT level stuff. And sometimes you just put your hands up and you say that's GOAT level stuff. I mean, it's crazy that he's still doing it at his age in this league, and it's crazy that he's doing it now. I mean, when he's won everything that there is to win in the game. But I felt like this was probably. I mean, would this be Mascherano's best performance, like best team performance?
Well, I'll tell you right now, it is his best 11 selection because he didn't put Thomas Avalos out there. I know they were missing Bright, but it looked like Miami played out of a back 3 because I know Noah Allen was in at left back ahead of Jordi Alba, but he's been playing more of a center back. He kind of tucked in, and it was him, Falcone, and Martinez who were just solid. And I think moving forward, that's Miami's best back line. And, what do you do with Jordi Alba at that point? Because if I'm looking at how this team played and how they were, how organized they were playing, I'm like, Alba, you're not starting.
No, I'll take the low hanging fruit here, and then we'll ask some hard questions about Columbus because I don't like the way they use Daniel Gazdag. I don't think they're playing him as best position, but Segovia has been one hell of a signing. That boy is electric. So was Alande. Like, they just refilled their winger spot. And I think they have gotten better without playing Toto, and they've gotten better without playing. His name is slipping me right now. He didn't even travel with them. Oh, Redondo. Yes, they've gotten better without playing Alvarez and Redondo. And I do believe they are probably the streakiest team in the MLS. They can either get absolutely dominated through their back line and not be able to retain possession and do what they did to Columbus. Teams could do to them if they don't have a consistent, back 4, back 3, however they were running it. Because I do believe you are right. Wiegand was more or less overlapping the entire game, and Allen was kind of tucked back. And I do believe this is their most consistent back 3, if that's the way they decide to play going forward. But they definitely are the streakiest. They can beat you 5-1, or they'll end up losing 0-1 to a Toronto. You just never know. Daniel Gazdag is a 9, and I don't understand why he is not playing as a 9. Does anyone else disagree?
I disagree.
I think that's his best position. If he
9?
needs to be in front of net, yes, I do. That's what I mean. If you just talk to people who are in Philly, right? Just talk to their general fans, talk to people who were closer to their front office. That was the reason why they were so willing to get rid of him, is because he was never going to play his natural position, he was just slotting into that midfield. But when he came over here, he was a 9. He just never really played as that. Not a 9, sorry, a false 9. Generally,
Yeah.
that's how he played, and he's just not. I don't think he's fit for a more of an attacking midfielder role. I understand they're similar, but he needs to be more centrally focused. And because of that, I think he's really struggling. And it's kind of shocking to see that, considering Nancy is the tactical genius that he is. So maybe they're just seeing something that I don't, but I don't think he's played his best position since he's been in the MLS, and certainly hasn't since he's been with Columbus, and he struggled to really gel there because of that.
Well, I think the issue is they're having to figure out Rossi and Gazdag, and I don't know if they're compatible in that sense, because I think Gazdag is better as a false 9, but I mean I want to see what it looks like with Aliu and Jason Russell Rowe ahead of Gazdag, right? Because Gazdag played well with 2 strikers ahead of him. I don't know if he can combine well with Rossi. Another potential here is get him out on the wing. Diego Rossi also played as a winger and not so much as an inside forward. And I know a lot of it is Nazi ball and Nazi tactics, right? Of trying to have free flowing wingers operate with in between spaces, in the half spaces as well, in between lines. But it's just when you need a goal, you're not gonna get it from Gazdag. You have to build his goal. You know what I mean? And there's plenty of other 10s that can pick up a ball at midfield and dribble and create magic and stuff. I don't know if Gazdag's there. So I will say, because he's been playing far deeper than usual. He's been having to collect a lot of the ball. That is rough when I see Gazdag in anywhere but the attacking third. But yeah, I think it's between him and Rossi. One of them, they can't both be starting.
He's playing. Gazdag's like one of the best box crashers in the league, and he's playing for a team that just does not like crashing the box.
Yeah,
I find that really funny.
One final question before we move on. This is for all of the panel. Would you rather have Telesco Segovia and what's his name? Allende? What's his first name? Tadeo? Would you rather have Telesco Segovia and Tadeo Allende, 2, or would you rather have the 1 Diego Gomez?
Oh,
Did you guys see Diego Gomez's goal against, was it Manchester City?
I did not.
In the Prem? He scored
He scored against Spurs.
Oh, was it Spurs? Yeah, Spurs, sorry. Yeah. He scored a beautiful 30-yard curler. It was fantastic.
And for that reason, you're picking him?
I mean, not for that reason alone. I think he was just really, I think he was just unbelievable. And every time I see him, I'm like, oh my God, that's MLS mention. And it feels like I'm Leo DiCaprio pointing at the TV. But I think I'll probably take, I love Diego Gomez. I think he's so good. I'm probably taking him.
Yeah, I'm going to take Diego Gomez too. Not just for what he provided in the attack, but he was just all over the pitch when he was at Miami. And he would put in some of the craziest convol tackles you would ever see in the MLS. And that Miami team's really missing a player with that bite. And I think Redondo tries to play that way, and he more or less draws fouls more often than he does actually succeed in not only rattling a player, but actually catching the ball. So for that, I'm going to take Gomez for sure.
Jeremy?
I like having 2 good players as opposed to just one very good player, because I think in coach brain, and I like to have options available. So I am going to go Segovia and Allende, but I do believe that Diego Gomez is still the better player between both of them. And Miami still is missing that bite in the midfield, like Daniel said. I don't know. I feel like It's so weird to say like this Miami team is still kind of like a work in progress, but it very much is. And I think that the second that they decide like, oh my God, like we actually can just go direct a lot of the time. Like Messi in this game is being very, very direct, arguably the most direct he's been all year. And Segovia and Allende are both really good in those kinds of situations. I feel like this is this is probably the best version of the Miami team, and at least the 2025 Miami team, and it works with Segovia and Allende playing as wingers, and also that loss of Bright, because I feel like Bright is the one who's going to add that bite. So I don't so much think I think they're missing the other bite player for when Bright can't play, but Bright is very, very important to them. And I think the most impressive thing about this game is that they were able to get this win without Yannick Bright on the pitch, which, wow, MLS, baby. Hell yeah.
Let's head on over to Nashville SC taking on New York City FC. This one, I don't know. This one was kind of, for me, it's kind of a mixed bag. I don't know. The big controversy, of course, being that Henny Mukhtar non-goal. Whether, I mean, a lot of people said, a lot of people had it over the line. I saw this post-game model that try and tracks, you know, whether or not it's a goal. Kind of more reason to go with goal line tech, right? But overall, I think this is I saw Matthew Corcoran in the lineup. I was, happy to see a player getting developing minutes, but I kind of knew it wasn't going to be Nashville at its best. Walker Zimmerman, full 90 for him. Very good to see. And then NYC, man, like, something about them. They're just a fucking pesky ass team. Able to they kind of rotated a bit on this one. They had Agustina Heda get a go out there. Keaton Parks getting back to his usual level. What'd you guys make of this one? It was very much a game lost for Nashville, a draw that feels like a loss. But interesting to see what your guys' takes were from this one. Daniel, I want to go to you because this is what you said in the in the Discord. This Nashville game was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, brutal's a good way to say it because they probably should have walked out with a 3-2 win here. And the question is, how is it 2025 and we don't have goal line technology yet? From a game perspective, Sam Surridge, I had my doubts about him when he first got here. I definitely had my doubts about him last year because this Nashville team really, really struggled. But it turns out him and Hanny have actually gelled really, really well. And if you can provide him service, he is a very, very, very good player. I saw a tweet from a Nashville fan after the game was over, and they said, "What is the point of NYCFC?" And someone quote tweeted and said, "They are there at this point to make sure that teams don't get too high, and so that teams at the bottom of the table feel like that they can get better." And that's pretty much my take on NYCFC at this point. Like, they can beat anybody, and they can legitimately lose to anybody. And you kind of need teams like this in this league to keep teams humble. Nashville, still one of the best teams in the East to me. I feel like this was a much better result for NYCFC than it was a draw for Nashville. And I think we can all agree with that. But I think when you look at the top 10 players in goals and assists in the MLS, I don't have it in front of me, but at this point, I'm pretty sure Hanny Mukhtar and Sam Surridge are like 3 and 4 on that list. And good for them because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close on that. I'm pretty sure Sam Surridge has 12 and Hanny Mukhtar has 11. So Surridge has 10 goals, 1 assist, and Mukhtar has what? 6 goals, 5 assists or something like that?
Goals and assists, my bad. I was just looking at goals, but...
Oh, he's 11 goals. Yeah, I mean, what is that? Second in the Golden Boot right now? Like,
yes, sir.
No one would have expected that from Sam Surridge this year. And in the back of my head, when you see fans make comparisons to the MLS in the English Championship, I have seen multiple English Championship strikers come here and struggle. Sam Surridge is not doing that right now. He looks like a good player, and it just turns out that Nashville need to get some signings around him to make him that player. So, yeah, even if they started Corcoran, and even if this felt like a game where they should have won it, even though they rotated a little bit, you still got to celebrate the wins. And Sam Surridge, Hanny Mukhtar gelling like they are is most certainly a win. And NYCFC, there's continue to be a thorn in the side the good teams and give points to bad teams. So good for them. They found their role until they decide to spend some money.
Anybody else wants to fill in on some NYC and Nashville thoughts? Josh and Jeremy, you guys ready to?
With Nashville, I thought when you wanted what you were going to talk about the big controversy being Hani Mukhtar. I thought your next words were going to be not being a star.
Oh,
there we go. That's what I was.
Oh, that was all
How
over
could I
Twitter this
forget?
week.
Do we want to talk about it?
I want to talk about it because I think that is blasphemous, and I don't use that word lightly. But that is a crazy take to have for someone who has been consistently in MLS top 3, top 5, like easily top 10 players in MLS, consistently for as long as he's been here. And I mean, he's a former MVP. Was it 2022 he won MVP for Nashville? Let's be serious for a second, you know? I think it is a blasphemous take to have. And when I saw it, I was shocked because I think in MLS more than any other league in the world, there are more stars per capita. Can we get like a per capita or per team data statistic on how many stars there are? Because I think you can go to a number of teams and say, okay, yeah, they have a star.
Montreal -4.
But they're the only one.
I know.
He's right. I can't think of anyone else.
Well, here's where I want to go with it, because when we talk about MLS and stars within MLS, I think it's so there's one thing to be a star, right? And that's and I tweeted about this. I think only 10% of MLS players are actual stars. And for me, a star is someone that has, name recognition, that is, household names per se, right? But when we are talking about when we focus the shift to MLS, stars around MLS, Henny Mukhtar is one of them. And I think a lot of it comes from, and a lot of it comes from a very poor prediction for Nashville, one that said since they don't have many stars and you need stars to win in this league, I'm like, I don't know if you need them, right? It helps to have them, but we've seen so many stars in this league, right? And, names like Gerrard, Lampard, who else? Pirlo,
Villa,
Nigel de Jong, World Cup pedigree there, Zlatan, like Insigne, like just because you go and get a household name does not mean you're gonna, go crazy and win MLS, right? But when we are talking about stars, a lot of MLS players are not stars. But that was just kind of my wider take about it, because I hate talking about it in this sense where it's like, why do we have to talk about a player's name recognition or their star ability? You know what I mean? When this guy, and especially from a journalist, I would want a bit more, and there are plenty of outlets out there that do this as well, that kind of go into the nitty gritty of, the advanced stats, kind of pointing more towards like, here's why their Nashville's, Henny Mukhtar is not going to go as well. He's got like regression or whatever, right? Like, but instead it's just this vibes-based subjective discourse. I'm willing to tap out of it, because in our hearts of hearts, we all know Hanny Mukhtar is an MLS star, right? Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
If you're tapping out, can I tap in?
Yeah, go ahead and tap in.
Okay, so I want to start by saying Nashville is Hanny Mukhtar. Hanny Mukhtar is Nashville. He is the reason, like the first player you think of when you think Nashville is Hanny Mukhtar.
Easy.
But Joss is correct in saying almost every single team now has somebody they can point to and say, man, that player's really good. San Jose has Christian Espinosa. I'm not even going to say anything about Atlanta. Charlotte has Wilfred Zaha. Philly
Ajimang,
has Ty
actually.
Berrybo, right? Sure, whatever. But it is on the national media to go out of their way and mention these people as stars and not tear them down. What is the point of tearing down the 2022 MLS MVP saying he's not a star just to knowingly have it come back and bite you in the ass? What does that reporter have to gain from doing so? Absolutely nothing. Why are we trying to tear down the league and its best players for the sake of superstars that we wish came here from Europe? Hani Mukhtar, when he first came here, no one thought he would be what he is today. That should be celebrated. And I don't understand why it isn't. And that is incredibly frustrating. Okay, now I'm tapping out. If anyone else has any thoughts.
No, I think that's a good way to close, honestly. We can go from there to another match filled with absolute stars in one Dejan Joveljic for Sporting Kansas City, who went on, and I gotta say, when I first saw the lineup, I was a little bit sussed out by the lineup from SKC. They didn't have Robert Voloder, who was out for this one. They had Joaquin Fernandez fill in, and overall, I was kind of a little bit, tepid here, given what ended up happening. But Dejan Joveljic, 2 banger of a goal. Santi Munoz coming in, gets a goal as well. The Mexican striker at SKC Regen is here. His name is Santi Munoz, straight from the movie. Though I do know that's Nunez before anyone starts going crazy. But we'll go to Joss, of course. I think he has some relation to SKC in some way. What'd you make of this one, Mr. Bathtub?
If we're talking about stars, Dejan Joveljic, for me, is a bit of he's a bit of one, I think, and he's kind of shown it this season, I feel. He when the signing was announced that he was coming over from the Galaxy, I was understandably very excited because he had just come off his best season in a Galaxy shirt. There was a little I was also very hesitant because it seems like maybe he didn't want to make the move, but a quote from him after this game is he's got 2 goals and he just had his first kid. I think it's his first. His wife just had a baby. So he says that this is the best week of his life. And for me, Dejan, you scoring 2 goals against a Houston Dynamo team that has been notorious in beating us in the big moments. It's been a pretty good week in my life too. I think that we're on the same level here.
That post baby bump.
Yeah, I got the same thing, Dejan. Me and you, son. So from this game, I also really wanted to shout out someone who I seem to shout out every time we record, but John Pulskamp. Can I please get some respect on John Pulskamp? I will need to do a more in-depth dive, but it seems like every game he makes outrageous saves. And considering I think he's younger than I am, and I'm 24, and he's younger than I am, and he's a goalie, so they go a little longer. I'm very, very excited for our future with him in net. He's athletic. He's positionally sound. He's a character as well, which I think goalkeepers need to be. They all need to be a little insane. And that's he is outstanding, and he's the reason that we come away with a win here and not a draw, and probably not a loss too, because the underlying numbers, Houston dominated this game kind of, but it only matters when you put the ball into the net and keep the ball out of the net. So take that, XG nerds. Go enjoy your $200,000 a year job because you're smart enough to understand XG. I'll
They're
take
giving
the
those
3-1
out?
win. What's up?
I understand XG. Where are those jobs at? What the hell?
Oh, you got to talk to a guy. It's a guy thing. It's yeah. You got to know a guy to know a guy.
One more thing I wanted to mention.
Good day.
Real quick, because I do remember why I was sussed out. No Jake Davis. That was like,
yes.
I'm missing someone
He's
here.
been out for
Yeah.
He's been out for a month and a half, I think, so far. I think he's come back in like swings and roundabouts, but he hasn't really had a sustained time in the 11 for a while now. So he could be a reason, like one of the reasons Houston were so good is they were able to play kind of right through SKC's midfield. And that's why the numbers were so good. I think Jake Davis probably helps alleviate that somewhat. I think that we're still yet to see kind of a Manu, Davis, Bartlett midfield under Carey for a sustained run of games, under Zavagin for a sustained run of games. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to when that happens. But yeah, no Jake Davis. Volodare broke his collarbone, so rest in peace. He'll be out for a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, you take an away win in MLS, I will always be a supporter of away wins in MLS. And for Houston, you know, they Anelli was back for his first time in like a year.
Just about to touch on that, but yeah, he looked good.
He looked great. He had he could have had an assist. He kind of smoked Andrew Brody a little bit, and he should have had an assist. But yeah, no, I think that Houston are still going to be very, very good. Don't get me wrong. This very much feels more like a one-off than it does a domination by SKC.
Houston is like that team that just sleeps during the first half of the season, and then come the summer when teams come in and they have to play in that Houston heat, they just kind of are used to it and, you know, play up. But, you know, SKC played well for, you know, turning against the Heat there. Daniel, Jeremy, any thoughts on either of these two teams, or want to move on to this is the last OTB game.
I have a question. Are we ready to slap the interim off Carey Savagnin? Joss.
Ooh, look, I saw this. I'm not ready yet. I think that I'm just so happy for it because we've gone from the doldrums under Vermes earlier this season to looking like a semi-competent team, but we still are outside the playoffs by 4 points. So I'm not ready yet, but it's funny that his record so far after 10 games is 4-3-3, which is Peter Vermes's do or die formation. So even in death, we still see his fingerprints all over this team, obviously. But I'm not ready yet. I think that he's done a great job. I would still like us to see I'd like to see us win more games in the underlying numbers as well, more so than just on the score sheet. And I know that's dorky and nerdy or whatever, and the sky is falling and all this, and I'm doom and gloom, but we know that in this sport, if you're not winning on the underlying numbers consistently, it's simply not a sustainable model. So not yet is my answer.
Jeremy, what would you do in this instance? If not Carey Zavagnin, who would you offer up?
I don't have like a huge take on Zavagnin right now. I think it's just fun to see the SKC players, like, it looks like they really enjoy going to work. And that's, I think, the bare minimum for any coach. But what I would like to talk about for this game is Houston's home record. Because right now they are in the 9th spot. They are firmly on the bubble. They're tied on points with Austin, which, remember when Austin was like 2nd place in the league, like behind Vancouver? Oh my God, that was so fun. Because everyone knew they were frauds. But now here they are. They're Austin's in 10th, and Houston's one above them. But Houston's home record, I think, to me, is when you're talking about that home field advantage that they get by just playing in hell, because that's what Texas turns into in the summer. They're 3-1-5 with a -4 goal differential. I think that's kind of nuts, because at home, with the way they like to play, that's really where, like, they're supposed to. That's where that type of soccer is the most effective, when they're able to just suffocate by possessing. And now, as they are getting healthier, they're getting a Nolly back, which was a huge victory for them. Their upcoming schedule is really interesting, because They have this next week off because international break, because teams should, I have a hot take, teams should not be able to play during international breaks. But I mean, there are always a select few that will be forced to trot out a rotated lineup for these because of absences. But the next week, they host Montreal, then they go to Minnesota midweek, and then they host St. Louis. So that's 2 home games with a Minnesota trip, which I'm very, very excited for that game. That game's going to be fascinating for several reasons because it's going to be a home team trying to play like a road team and a road team trying to play like a home team. I love when that happens. And then they face San Diego and they face RSL. Both of those are on the road. So I think these next 2 home games, I believe they're better than both Montreal and St. Louis, but these are must wins. These are absolutely must wins because although they are getting healthier, there's a chance for them to go on a run. But their last 3 matches before League's Cup, which is right after that RSL game, they host Vancouver, Philadelphia, and the Galaxy. We don't know what Vancouver is going to be like then. I can safely assume that Philadelphia is just going to keep proving me wrong. And then they host the Galaxy for their final game before League's Cup. They have 5 home games out of their next 7 before the Don Garber Invitational begins. And all 5 of those are must win. All 5 of them are. Because I believe in the talent on this Houston team, but they just really have to start picking up results. And I think it's kind of desperate for them right now to just start stacking points at home, especially after how slowly they started the year.
You know, Jeremy, I'm glad you brought up home teams, right? Because it wasn't too long ago we were sat here after a very cool, and it's very cool because this team lost. Salt Lake lost 1-0 at home against Toronto. Now, this was following a stretch of draws, one which Toronto had a 1-1 against Inter Miami. And, you know, playing on the road against Real Salt Lake, they kind of are figuring out their best lineup. We counted 7 home games for Toronto, right, at home. And sure enough, they only won 1. 1 home game, and that was against DC United. They won 1 home game of the 7 that we were looking at. I was very bullish on this team, and that was until the NYC game when they kind of messed up their formation again. Constant backline shifts. I know MLS has them playing out of a 5-3-2, but they've been playing out of a 4-2-3-1, which at times looks good, but you know, most of the time they just get decimated. Staying here with you, Jeremy, because I know you were the one to highlight that Toronto match. What did you make of Toronto in this one? And we'll go to Daniel for the Charlotte side because I know I have some Charlotte takes as well, but yeah, Toronto played Charlotte, 2-0 loss at home. What'd you make of this one for Toronto?
I would like to take this opportunity to mention that I picked Toronto to win the Spoon at the start of the season. This run of let's take a look at all of these home games that they've had since that RSL game, which is a total of 7. They've only had to go on the road once. Ironically, they won that road game because they just pasted Montreal, 6-1. Which is really, really, really funny. It's their best result by far in this entire stretch, like pretty much by default. But out of those 7 games, they won 1 and they lost the other 6. I don't think that's very good. And nope. I know I think I'm being controversial there when I say that losing 6 of 7 at home is very bad. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, you are looking at you're looking at just tons and tons of road games. Like, I knew they weren't going to make the playoffs this year. We all knew they weren't going to make the playoffs, but it's already garbage time for them. And right now we're recording on the 3rd of June. They've done an unbelievable job. Like, at least with the Galaxy, we'll get to them later. There's like could they aspect of it, but Toronto and Montreal are both cheeks. They're pure ass cheeks right now, and I think after this really, really important 3-match week where once again they didn't have to travel, they lose 1-2 to Nashville. They lose 1-2 to Philadelphia. And then they lose 2-0 to Charlotte. Just what is going on here? What the hell is going on here? It's so unbelievably like just disappointing. And I feel like the acquisition of Ola Brynhildsen is actually a pretty good bit of business, just getting him in on loan. But he's got to start banging in some of these goals. But the problem is who's going to create for him? Legitimately, who is it? We talk about all the star power and like Felipe Cardenas, he's the guy who was like, Mukhtar isn't a star. He's probably got like his like tongue like all the way out of his mouth doing like the wow eyes at Lorenzo Insigne when Insigne first came here. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Jesus Christ. This entire game is just absurd. And Charlotte, credit to them. Huge credit to them. They ceded the possession battle. They played good counterattacking soccer. And David Bingham, he gets the start in this one. He gets a clean sheet. Trouble in paradise, question mark. So I don't think I'm like any more impressed with Charlotte after this game. This was just a result that I kind of expected to happen. And this game was very, very like, I did not enjoy watching this. I did not.
Jeremy, tell me your thoughts about Richie Larea just rotting on that bench.
I don't think he's rotting on that bench.
You don't think he could be useful elsewhere?
No. I do not. Anybody else?
I don't know what. No one wants to defend Richie Larea. I don't know what. So look, my thoughts on Insigne is he's still a very good player. Toronto does nothing to help anybody, I think. I don't know. It's tough because without Federico Bernardeschi, they're stuck with Dominguez, who is a significant fall off in that position. You have Lorenzo Insigne playing centrally, which to Toronto's credit, that's kind of what he did in the left wing when he played for Napoli in the Italian national team. He would always float centrally. So naturally, he should slot in there. I just think there are so many holes on this Toronto team that Insigne, Bernardeschi, Brynhildsen, Osorio, like none of them can piece it together. Those are my only takeaways on Toronto. And it stinks because they're all really good players.
Let's talk about Charlotte, though, because I think Charlotte have a much more interesting piece here to them because I was, clear in saying I thought Tim Ream was a bum. And sure enough, some games without him in the lineup, and Charlotte went on to win. But another big one was Kalina being dropped for David Bingham as Jeremy. I read your last name and went to Peterman first, but as Jeremy pointed out, we got David Bingham in, and I in the Discord was like, I'm alive for these David Bingham 20-25 minutes. But one final piece I wanted to add is Souleymane Doumbia, bro. Tell me how he doesn't complete this Charlotte team. Because I think he's exactly what you need to be giving Wilfred Zaha support on that left side. Marshall Ruddy did it well on in the attack, but on defense he wasn't as good. This time he was a right back, and with Doumbia in, they got a clean sheet. So no Ream, Doumbia in, Marshall Ruddy in. Like my propaganda machine is turning out really well when it comes to Charlotte discourse. But I'm interested to see what you made of that game as well.
I'm with Jeremy on the fact that this was a game Charlotte should have won, but it's also a massive get-right game because May was the toughest of months for them. I do believe this is probably their preferred lineup, even when Byrne gets healthy going forward, as long as everyone stays healthy. I mean, I mean, they had 18 shots, man. They just absolutely peppered. If it was not for Sean Johnson, this game could have been considerably worse. Or Liao Abada missing one or two sitters of his own. I think this back four allows you to have a substitute like Tim Ream who can come in and give a spell to Malanda or Privet or Doumbia. I think this is the preferred midfield, which is really nice to see. And everything continues to flow through Pep Beal, the best non-DP player in the league. And I think we finally got a taste of what Zaha can actually do. Granted, he was playing against Toronto, so we're not going to take this too far. But I mean, Zaha looked like the player we all thought he would be when he got here. And it's a testament to the MLS being tougher than everyone gives it credit for, because people thought he'd walk in and dominate. And I think all of us who actually watched the league knew that that was not going to happen. But he was active in the box. He was creating and connecting plays like we all thought he would. He was doing his little shake and bake thing that he's been known to do for the last 5 to 7 years of his time in the Prem. So it's incredibly promising. And for them to get right, I think they need to continue to play this lineup, even if that means continuing to play Bingham, who, God bless David Bingham, because what was it, 3 weeks ago? It was either 2 or 3 weeks ago. I got added in the Box State Footy Discord from Jeremey saying, what is wrong with Christian Kalina? Like, is he just like concussed and they're hiding it? Like, what is going on? And David Bingham was able to step in and give us the clean sheet. So yeah, I wasn't pleasantly surprised, because this was expected. I would have been much more worried if this would have resulted in a draw or, God forbid, a loss. But yeah, no, very, very good showing and preferred lineup going forward. Most curious to see what happens with Patrick Adjumane this summer, because they currently have one DP spot. I would argue that Pep Beal's played himself into a DP contract again. So now they're sitting at 2 no matter what they do. And Adjumane, if he's gone and Pep Beal's going to command a DP spot in a year, how do you fill that striker spot? Is that with Toklamati, or do you go out and get somebody to keep the train kind of rolling and win now? So I'm excited for what we have now, but we'll see. I was pleasantly surprised. We'll say that.
Daniel, you fill that spot with Enzo Capetti.
Don't you guys, I need a trigger warning before that name's mentioned. I bought that jersey so quickly when we signed him, and I have not worn it since I watched him touch a Charlotte. The first game when he came on for Charlotte and he had like 5 touches off his foot that like went 10 yards. I was like, oh my God, what did we do?
Well, you just had to go out and get your MLS star jersey. You know what I mean? So Enzo Capetti, Charlotte star through and through. Let's move on though. Let's I mean, all these games are interesting in some way or another. I'm going to take the lead here with Orlando and Chicago, unless anyone else has a takeaway from this one. Chicago came into this one rested. They didn't have a midweek game, and so we haven't really addressed much of the midweek stuff. But this one for Orlando, they're one of the teams that consistently play the same 11 week after week after week. And I think it just caught up to them here. 3-1 result here as Chicago, like one of the better road teams. They were in the news today because Mr. Mansueto, their owner, is pouring a lot of money into a new stadium, privately funded. We love to see that. But yeah, Chicago. Everything about my initial sell is just here. Like Zinkernagel finally kind of coming true as one of the wingers. I mean, it's kind of less in Bamba because he hasn't been getting as much on the score sheet, but Bamba's still also a very good active winger, right? And so for me, the biggest takeaway here is Chicago's got it, guys. Like Berhalter, you can, like, for as much shit as he got on the national team, you can't deny his credentials in MLS, right? And so he's got a great group here. This midfield did not feature Brian Gutierrez, who had a terrible red card, and not in a bad tackle, but it was a bad tackle. Nothing too bad or that's gonna make you unqueasy, but just like a very childish. I don't even know how to explain it because he comes
There's an
over
elbow.
and elbows after a little like follow through. Just I don't even know what he's doing, but you know he kind of leaves that elbow right in front of the ref. You know sends him off, and I don't know why they don't play Kwame, guys, like over Gutierrez. I know there was the De Bruyne links. It felt like it was just any minute now that he was going to announce, you know, him going to Chicago. He's ended up going to Napoli, I believe. But yeah, overall, I mean, I love watching Chicago. They are a team that is just a healthy, clean bill away from really competing in the East. Got to figure out that home form though, as most MLS teams do. But yeah, anybody else have any questions about this one or any other takes before we move on?
Hugo Kuipers, Juanners.
Yes, sir.
Where are we
league.
at on him? Is he the best striker in the league right now?
Well, he does lead in XG, and as you know, I have a very fondness and understanding of that stat, which is why I'm kind of demanding.
I'm not the guy you need to talk to, Juan. I'm telling you, I'm not the guy who can give you the $200,000 job. Okay.
Wherever that may be, and one thing remains true is Kuipers is they're feeding him, dude, and he's not a striker that's gonna do like everything for you, but he is a striker that if you just put the ball in the right spot, he's gonna get to it and he's gonna score. He has had his moments, you know, every striker does. 9 out of 10, you know, times it goes in. He's had that few misses here and there before, but he is. I mean, I long said when he first joined, I was electric because he was one of my favorite strikers in Europe, in the Belgian league, and so for him to actually be in the league and still, you know, do really well goes to show just how much talent that league has. You know, we've had some questionable players coming over. I can think of one, Dante Van Zier, who was mid at worst and okay at best, but you know, it's just good to see like good players underneath good coaches getting good minutes, good production. That's really, you know, he's amazing. So I don't know if anyone else feels that strongly, but he's the one striker I wish was on my team.
I'd say the only striker there's only two strikers who have been more effective than him. I mean, it's Ty Baribo, who is very complimentary to a system, and Brian White, who
Is
for
Brian
all
White.
the goals he scored, it's Brian White. Yeah, he's the New Jersey Mario Gomez.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam Surridge, he has 11 goals, but 3 of those are penalty goals. So I subtracted penalty goals from that. So Hugo Kuipers is up there. Yeah, I'm a Hugo Kuipers fan. I don't know if he's the best striker in the league, but he's certainly top 5.
God, he's up there for me. I mean, he's even underperforming his XG, which is crazy. He's got 10 goals off 12.
Yeah. But he's good for 2 more.
That's just yeah.
But
yeah, and like you were saying about how he won't do everything. I think that's like if you could combine Patrick Adjemang and Hugo Kuipers into one, you'd have a pretty complete striker, I think, because Adjemang, he doesn't score the tap-ins. He'll score but he will do a lot of running and
work.
He's strong and he can beat a defender, and like physically he's stronger than a lot of these defenders. And Kuipers is very intelligent, just inside the box, one tap finishes. Combine the two, you've got a beautiful striker that you've made. So how many Frankensteins we got out there? Because I have a job for you.
If you add Benteke's aerial ability, then you get me in the scrimmage against my kids, my youth kids. So that's the kind of player we're talking about. If you Frankenstein all 3.
Combine the 3 and you have what Emmanuel Latte-Lath was hyped up to be.
So, yeah, I think that puts it well. And no discredit to Orlando, because I know a lot of people want to. I mean, I hyped up Chicago. Orlando is a tough team to beat at home like this, but Oscar, bud, you got to rotate the team a little bit, like, you know, just a bit. outside of missing players and whatnot. I know midweek he was coming off a rotated lineup, but I still am like, still got to do more than just like Duncan gets a start and then Ojeda gets a start. Like why is Angulo got to play every game, bro? Like I want to see a Ramiro Enrique out there as well because I do quite like him. And another thing for Orlando is they're going to be fine. This was more so just, the midweek issues of the league and of the schedule. That is a discussion for another podcast. Jeremy brought up Emmanuel Lath, and it's funny because the two games that occurred, Atlanta won, right? And now that we're back to recording, they lost. But I don't know. Jeremy, what do you make of Atlanta? Because I thought even in those two wins, they were kind of fraudulent wins. And it wasn't, I mean, when we look at Lath and Almiron, I think the last I saw they had, in the last 6 games, they've only had 1 assist between the two of them. So you may be, looking at the Uzuni $12 million goal and squinting your eyes a bit. But what does it say about Almiron and not Lath, their May stretch of games, man? Pretty rough overall. Jeremy, I had you on this one. What'd you make of this one and any other Red Bulls takes as well that you may have?
I would like to talk about every other game that Atlanta played over the past week aside from this one, because it is astoundingly funny to me that Atlanta can beat Cincinnati on the weekend. I thought that was probably the lesser of the fraudulent ones. I think the Orlando game was certainly like more fraudulent because Cesar Araujo just loses his head in that game and gets sent off. But I believe, first of all, as a starting striker, it's not really good as a league record signing starting striker if your backup is coming in off the bench and banging in goals. Which I do believe that each of them have their they have their certain roles in this team, but Gaffer Ronnie, who kicked the can a little bit farther down the line by beating Cincinnati and Orlando, by beating both of those guys. But then after leaving the safety of Mercedes-Benz, which hasn't been very safe for them this year, and going to the Red Bulls and getting Cameron Harpered, that's what happened. You guys got Cameron Harpered, all the money you spend just to get fucking Cameron Harpered. Elite.
And one thing I want to point out, it's not like Atlanta's not trying to. They're doing a 5-4-1 formation effectively here, and we're getting a lot of Ajani Fortune minutes, which is good. But even still, like I can't help but feel that they're still so unbelievably like below mid at this point. Like it's dysfunctional.
I thought the best aspect of the system was moving Saba Lobjanidze to right wing back, which sounds kind of nuts, but he's been a hell of a trooper at that position. And I think in theory, you're seeing kind of just like, oh, I see, this could work. This could work. Like it's one of those like I see the vision type things, but they're just not that good. They really just aren't that good. I think that formation change has been able to bring a little bit more out of Miranchuk, but still, to borrow the Izuni phrase, what does Almiron even do? He's been far more disappointing than Miranchuk has been this year, and Miranchuk is the one who usually is the one getting like berated by everybody because they still think it's 2018 and that Miguel Almiron is like the Miguel Almiron, but no, not really. And Latte Loth, like I feel like when you're the league record signing and the biggest talking point around you in the past month is that you just shattered a guy's ribs. That's not good. That's not good at all. So I'm. It's not so much that I'm struggling to find just reasons to care about Atlanta United, because I feel like I have to care about Atlanta United. But oh my god, man! Oh my god! It is June 3rd. I repeat, Atlanta United are 13th in MLS. They are below DC United. They are 1 point behind DC United. They have a -9 goal differential. They have 4 wins in 17 games. 2 of those have come in the past week. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'm also starting to think about, has the Brad Guzan can been kicked down the road a little bit too far? He's 40 years old. I get it. Like, on his day, he can still put in an unbelievable match-winning performance. But I don't know. I don't know.
Well-
it seems like it seems like they prepared what they thought they had to prepare for this season, but still didn't fix any of the major problems that has kept this team from like actually truly contending over the past couple of years.
And just like Miami, where they had a backup, a backup that could have started and could have gotten minutes. For Miami, it's Calendar ahead of Ustari, and we haven't really talked about Ustari that much, but he's been awful. Guzan's backup is not just some Joe Schmo. It's Josh Cohen, who at one point was on UCL benches, right? And I don't know. I think it's kind of a sweet poetic justice that he's unavailable, for them right now. Kind of, I'm never rooting for an injury or happy that a player is injured, but they had time to integrate Cohen into the lineup and build for their new, keeper of the future. So, I can't help but sit back and laugh. Because
hold on. We are talking about EAFC 25 Team of the Season, Brad Guzan.
oh, bro,
No way.
please.
Team of the season moments. Team of the season moments. Let's be clear. He got a moment.
I don't know what the hell those things are anymore, man. The game is gone. The game is gone. What about the Red Bulls? We've not talked much about the Red Bulls. I hate talking about them because they are a mid team through and through, and I thought they navigated the midweek well because they were without Nealis and Isla midweek. They come back into the squad. I have there's this team with Omar Valencia in the lineup, and then there's this team without him. And, thankfully he was in the lineup for this one. I think that makes a huge difference. I think he is, going to be one of my U22 players that I harp on about for next week's show. So I'm a big Omar Valencia guy. Outside of that, I mean, I know Choupo-Moting got the 10 goals. It still feels kind of fraudulent. How many of those are PKs? I'm not too sure off the top of my head.
Well, hold on, I'm pulling up the PK numbers. 4 of those are PKs.
Yeah, so 40% of your goals PKs. I know Red Bulls fans were thrilled to see a 10, goal scorer for the and they all count, right? They all count the same, but always a little bit of a caveat there. What did you make of the Red Bulls here? If it's not much, I mean, it's totally cool too, because they're a team that is just there for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up from like this entire week because this is a good week for them. It's a 9-point week, and even though Choupo-Moting, he hit double figures, I'd like to see more Victor Bogac. I really would.
You like him?
I think I do like Victor Bogac. I like Wickelman Carmona. I like Mohamed Sofo. Like I feel like there are individual.
Sofo, yep.
Yeah, there are individual players on this team that I'm like, wow, I like these guys. They're fun to watch. The problem is they play for the New York Red Bulls, and that's something that you just can't escape sometimes. But I think at least in this Atlanta game, getting Daniel Edelman back and just fully healthy and allowing him to just run games in that midfield, I think he's the linchpin of this team, more so than Forsberg will be this year. So I think having Edelman available to be their just best midfielder, that's so good for them. And he was one of the heroes of their cup run last year. Well, run to the final. They didn't actually win the cup, guys, if you didn't know. But he's a very, very fun player to watch. But the problem is that like this team just can never play in entertaining games. They can't. They have a ton of exciting individual players, but combined, they do not make me inspired at all to watch this team play games of soccer. They don't. And Cameron Harper is the reason why they beat Atlanta this weekend. Cameron Harper, once again, pressing right winger. He's got Colorado Rapid written all over him. But yeah, I don't know what it is about this team. They should be more fun to watch than they are, you know? It's
Absolutely.
just
I feel
kind
that.
of bugging me.
That's why I say they're just kind of there. It's like, man, it feels almost there, and it just, I don't know. From, I mean, anything else there on that? Does anyone else have? Because I think, this one kind of lacked a little bit of the interesting flavor for me. I think we could talk about Cincy and DC, but does anyone else want to touch on either of these teams? Perfect. Let's talk DC and Cincy, because that was one of the games for me that I couldn't wait to get into. I had Daniel on this one, and it's tough because I want to lead in here with saying that my Major League Soccer model, the biggest road value was DC United. It said you should just bet DC because the odds were too good. They closed around 600, plus 600. So that's very, very, very high. And anytime you get those odds, it's always good for a little sprinkle, right? And I didn't do it this time because I hate DC, guys. I do not like watching DC. That is until very recently. They reintroduced Gabriel Pirani into the side, a player I was very, very, very against, especially when Jeremey brought him up, because I thought with him and Benteke on the field, he's not going to carry the water for Benteke, and Benteke's not going to carry the water for him, right? But outside of that, with him as the focus, this team was cooking. I have to admit, and I hate that because I genuinely despise this team. But Daniel, tell us about this Cincinnati DCU match. It was a very fun one. But what'd you make of it?
I am actually incredibly shocked that your model called that out, because Cincinnati has not lost a game at home yet, and DC United has been winless in their last 5. On paper, I thought this was looking like an FC Cincinnati win. Pirani scored an absolute screamer in the 2nd minute, unmarked at the top of the box. It's the second game in a row where he's hit an absolute screamer, and he looks like quite the player. Credit where credit's due to Cincinnati. Came back, scored a goal in the 15th minute. Kevin Danke got his 10th goal of the season off an assist from Evander, and I am happy to report to everybody that they did celebrate together. It felt like Evander was happy that Danke scored, so good for him.
Did they kiss? They got a kiss.
They didn't kiss. They hugged. They didn't kiss, but he looked in his eye like he was a proud father, and that's all you can ask for.
Who
from
was the father?
Evander.
Did they each think they were the father of each other?
Yeah, it was. Listen, it's June. They can do that. Anyway.
I'm just making sure I'm catching the right dynamic. Like, who's getting little brothered here? Because I see Kevin Danke as the older brother naturally, and Evander as the middle child, I guess, the redheaded stepchild.
It's like two street gangs leaders just like going head to head with each other all the time. They both think they're the leader. But when one
Ooh.
does well, they're forced to smile and hug. It's like man, I can't think of the book they had made us read in 6th grade. The Sharks and the I don't know, the fuckers. We'll call them the fuckers. The Sharks and the fuckers. One's the leader of one, one's the leader of the other. They're forced to like each other.
The
It's like
Outsiders.
West
the
Side Story.
Outsiders, yeah.
West Side
The-
Story.
The Outsiders
Outside.
and West Side Story, because it's the same book. Pretty
True.
much.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jets. The Sharks and the Jets.
The Sharks and the fuckers. Anyway.
Damn straight.
Damn straight. I think the biggest shock was Connor Antley has been in this league for 5 years, and he goes off and gets the go-ahead goal in the 19th minute. And I thought that was freaking awesome for him.
He
The match
has.
kind of went. He's been in the league for 5 years and scored his first ever MLS goal, and that's like just moment of silence for that streak. Mental claps, like good for him, because that had to feel freaking awesome. The rest of the match, FC Cincinnati pushed. They had 66% possession. They controlled the pace like they kind of do almost every game. 16 shots. I thought Barraza was incredible this game. Cincinnati takes their first home loss of the year. DC walks out with probably the most impressive away win of the last couple weeks, at least. I felt like this was a wake-up call for Cincinnati, and I don't really know what to make of it for New England because they're still missing some pieces, but you go off and beat Cincinnati. That's kind of a statement win at this point. At least a statement away win. That's a huge 3 points.
I will say the biggest thing I kept hearing from Cincy supporters after they traded not only Cheeto Awasium, but they also traded Ian Murphy, who was week over week their most consistent defender, playing most of the minutes. And they traded away, and they said, we're going to be fine without them. I said, okay, I'm going to keep that because I'm a very big Cheetos supporter, big Ian Murphy supporter. I do quite like both of their games. And the fact that the Rapids got both of them, I know there was kind of a little bit of a cap situation there for Cincinnati. They kind of had to get rid of them. But I won't forget. Them saying we'll be fine. Yeah, we'll be fine is losing 2-1 to DC at home. I can't think of any other team that does that.
This felt like the worst game I've seen in a while from Miles Robinson and Matt Miazga. For sure. Like, to be completely disoriented by Piriani is like, there were moments of DC where you're like, oh my God, they could have made this 3-1 at the beginning of the game at the very least. So, I mean, it was just a really, really good showing, honestly.
One final thing here. Dado Valenzuela, we hadn't had a chance to talk about him, but man, I think he's a great player. I want to see more of him ahead of Sergio Santos in those minutes. I think he's kind of slowly earning himself as the second striker there. So I'm all for Dado minutes. Let's head on over, unless
Juanners.
Yeah, what's up?
I do have one more point to make because both games you gave me to cover naturally, just through social media, gave me their own storylines. There is a faction of FC Cincinnati fans who would like to fire Pat Noonan.
Ooh. Those guys are obviously dumb as hell.
That was my take as well, but I did want to hear your guys' take on it. My take was dumb as hell, but I don't know. I didn't see wanted to see if anyone wanted to play devil's advocate on that one.
Can I do it for fun?
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like there is a specific way for this team to like finally. I feel like Noonan's being a bit stubborn with this with this Cincy team, specifically formation wise. I've never seen a team that is more set up to just be a 4-2-3-1 team, and he still is doing his back three nonsense with them. Like, it's so simple. You put Danke at the 9, you put Evander at the 10, you put Orejano on the left wing. Right wing, we'll figure that out. Like I don't have a player right now, at least off the top of my head, that's like, oh, he's 100% the right winger. But maybe that's something you add in the summer because God forbid you spend more money. Then you have an easy pivot of Buka and Nwobodo. Right back DeAndre Yedlin, left back Angle, Miazga, Robinson as the center backs. I feel like it's just such a simple 4-2-3-1 team, and
Except
Noonan
the big
is
right wing missing.
yeah. I mean,
that's
there's
when
a
they go
big
out.
right.
That's when they go out and
But
buy
there's a big
Anthony.
right wing missing, but like once again, that's not some that's something you can go out and find. Like who if Yuya Kubo gets healthy again, he can play there. Corey Baird like fuck it, put him out there. Like even though you're like
Paired
really
right
missing,
wing.
yeah, even though you're really missing a right winger, like I still feel like you could plan for the summer and just be like, if we get someone who can like be functional on the right wing, this team can be very, very, very good. They're too much of the pieces fit otherwise for them not to try it.
All right,
But
what about
still,
this? What
like
about this? Luca Oresiano on the right, Brad Smith on the left.
that
True.
works too. That
Oh.
works too. Even though I think Orejano's better on that left side, but still that also works. And I feel like obviously talk of firing him is insane. 2 years after he won the Shield, like I feel like Cincinnati fans need to remember where they came from.
I was
for a
about to
little
say. I was about to say.
bit. Yeah,
Look within before before you go.
Yeah.
And do this shit. Not that they will, but the point stands. Any other thoughts here? Cincinnati, DC. Jeremy, I know you were high on Pirani as well.
I was, but I'm also just really happy that the Joao Peg show can continue a little bit. I don't care if he does like nothing for an entire game. He's already earned my unconditional love. So
I'm ready for DC to
Go
get
for it.
rid of Benteke if it means Peglo and Pirani can fall out in the way they did.
yeah.
Well,
Which I mean, once again, kind of nuts to suggest that maybe this team can get better if they lose the Golden Boot guy. But like when the reigning Golden Boot winner is just so he pretty much is the system, and like that system doesn't get the best out of the rest of the players on the team. I mean, why not? It's something to easily entertain, and it would open a DP slot.
Well, and let's not forget the Golden Boot winner did not feature in the playoffs, which is I think a little bit more important. I think, but
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head there. It's just they're sacrificing a bit too much there. Let's talk about CF Montreal, New England Revolution. I got Joss on this one. We had Vrioni, red card against his old team. Kind of a messy red card. I thought it was going to be a lot more dramatic. It was, just a kick out after a little tussle on the sideline.
Yeah, but where did he kick him at, Juan? Where did he kick him?
Well, was it? Where did he kick him?
It was a nut shot, dude.
Was it really? I think I missed that.
It looks like a nut shot to me. I think he hits him right where you don't want to be hit.
Tell us about the match.
Yeah. So we'll start there. Veroni, like, I think he cleats him in the nuts, and it's stuff like that makes me question kind of the intelligence of players, because it's like there are so many cameras in stadiums, in MLS stadiums now, except for I guess on the goal line, Nashville fans. But where there should be cameras, there are, and you're not going to get away with that in the era of VAR. And since that Veroni red card, things kind of went downhill for Montreal, clearly. But before I talk about how good I think New England are and have been, I'm still shocked by how little we hear from Jalen Neal in Montreal. And maybe it's because Montreal are just not very good, but I was kind of expecting like best signing of the window level performances, and we just haven't gotten that so far from him and it's kind of sad to see, because I remember how good he was for the Galaxy, and I don't know. He could do such a good job for the Galaxy now. I think a lot of players who left the Galaxy could have. Dejan Joveljic is another one. But it's really sad to see that Jalen Neal really hasn't kicked on and gone to that like Miles Robinson Atlanta level that I thought he could get to. And I think we're really missing out on a quality American young center back. But it just sucks, I think. But what do you guys kind of agree?
I think the Jalen Neal move was always meant to be a long-term plan for Montreal. The issue is they are a perpetual long-term plan team where they will just snap up young players and eventually like phase them out after they don't come good because you have too many things cooking at once. Because I mean this was his chance to upstage Joel Waterman, who the team is either playing at right back, playing at center back, or not playing at all. And I think he needs to be playing with both Neal and Campbell. Like more and more, the firing of Laurent Courtois makes no sense because how Jeremey pointed out in regards to Cincinnati being a clear 4-2-3-1. This Montreal team is a clear 3-4-3 team. Like I don't or 3-4-2-1, 1-2, whatever you want to put, right? They're clear 3-back line. It's still very much in their DNA. I don't know if we've seen Jalen Neal at his best yet. Just, because of the team he's on. I'm just gonna blame the team. Like there's only so much you can do as a center back when there's turmoil in the front office. You get a new coach. Not even the middle of the season, just amidst a brutal 7-game road streak, of which Neal wasn't even playing in. Like, he was injured as well, just to start the year. I think that kind of, that's another factor. But it is sad because this was probably on paper seemed like a good fit, and then the more the season went on, the more it just kept snowballing into what it is now. And that's, a Montreal team that's only had one win this entire season. Like midway through the season, and you've had some home games. I know the road spell is tough, but don't fire your coach at one of the most crucial moments in the season.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, because I don't want to blame Neal here. He's still 21. Like, he's still got. Maybe if he was like 24, 25, I'd be like, all right, he's, like I feel like this could be a good roadblock in his career that he overcomes.
I'm hoping so. I think we're at a bit of a kind of a fork in the road, I think, for Jalen Neal. Because I think, like overall, I think Montreal has a pretty decent record in terms of developing young talent, who then go on to perform elsewhere, which is kind of sad to say. But I think that he's either going to become like, I don't know. I was expecting like he makes a jump to Europe in the next couple 2-3 years and becomes like a Mark McKenzie over there, or he has a good MLS lifer career like Miles Robinson. I think that we're kind of waiting to see exactly where that'll pan out. But I mean, he played a lot of games for an MLS Cup winning Galaxy side. And it is hard to blame him over, because like you're saying, a center back can only do so much, and Montreal are not a very good team. And it just sucks to see a player of that much talent go into just a shitty situation. It's a shitty situation, So I feel bad for Neal.
The good thing is he's playing now, right? It used to be Fernando Alvarez in that position, and so long as it continues to be on Neal, I think it'll be fine. Even playing on a shitty Montreal, like for him, it'll be fine. Like this is, I
hope so.
I don't know about Europe. I never got the sense of Europe from him. I always got MLS lifer.
Okay.
I'd be interested. What about you, the rest of the cast? Because like Jalen Neal, I always saw as a top MLS center back prospect, but not a European. Like if he was gonna make the jump, he would have made it by now, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on Jalen Neal. I thought it was a really good acquisition for Montreal this offseason, being able to get him. And I'm just amazed it took him this long to like get into the starting 11. But man, man, uh, I think he's also going to be a very key part of this team after the summer. I think he's going to be like one of the first choice starters because I've been seeing a lot of George Campbell rumors about
Ross
English
County?
second tier teams very interested in him this summer. And I feel like I'm not going to say he's the Ferrari in like the trailer park house, but he certainly is the best player on this team. Him and Saliba both. And there's also a lot of Saliba rumors. Like, I don't know. Montreal is they they just disappoint me constantly.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, but being able to bring Neil over, knowing that you probably aren't gonna get him to Europe, and he can be a fixture of this team for years to come. Like, yeah, sure, but he needs to be playing more.
What about Caleb Porter? I haven't even really touched on
Oh,
New England, but
Oh, they're winning the cup next year already, so I don't think I need to say anything else.
well, I think
I
I'm a little shocked because Thomas Chankalai has gotten back in the lineup, and he's like, at first I was like, dude, this is buns, but out of the new striker formation with him up there, like, New England has not lost an MLS play since. I know we brought up March 31st for St. Louis's last win, which was rough. The last loss for New England Revolution was April 5th. And that was against Cincinnati, 1-0 on the road.
Wait.
They did lose
the
an
last
Open
loss?
Cup. Yes, they
Oh, is
did
that
lose
the
an
Open
Open Cup. But beyond that, they've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 without a loss. I got to be eating some crow here because I was very, very down on the project. Not only have the players started to gel together, and Jeremy made a great point about the center backs, Ceballos and Fofana. It also helps when you have a third guy like Tanner Beeson not completely mess up the lineup, right? So, any other thoughts on New England, guys? Like, I feel like this is a team we got to look at a little bit more in depth. Maybe we'll come back after their first loss and we can really go from there. But that change, that formation change to the 5-3-2 has been everything for them.
Yeah, and I also want to touch on two of the two goal scorers in this match, the wingbacks Feingold and Peyton Miller, who their combined age is 37. You give a 37-year-old could find a lot of time in a Peter Vermes team, I think. So to have your wingbacks play, both grab 3 goals from between the two of them, and one assist the other, while one is 20, the other 17. There's a lot to be happy about. It reminds me of like Brandon Bye and DeJuan Jones in those positions. So, I've been very impressed with Caleb Porter ball, especially as of recent, and it's a lot down to the formation change. I also think that formation change really lets Carlos Heel kind of shine, and I think just when he's good, it just feels good to watch. He's just one of those players that's silky. He's a lot like, I think, like Isco. I think of like Isco a lot in the way that he plays. Very intelligent, intricate passing. Can play deep. Can pick out balls from deep. Is able to intricately play around the box. I've really liked this New England revolution because
Man. I'm gonna have to talk to your agent about that one. Yikes. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I want to stick with you, Joss, here on this FC Dallas and Philly squad or matchup. Lawless Abubakar red before the end of the half, and it still kind of petered out to 0-0. Just in case you thought I forgot about giving you your trusted 0-0 match. What'd you make of this one?
How could I lose faith? Well, before I touch on the game, I wanted to touch on some FC Dallas lore that occurred at this game, because I'm watching these highlights, right? And Anderson Julio in like the 11th minute misses a pretty wide open shot. I think he should have scored. But I noticed in the foreground, in the crowd shot, because there's nobody on the far side because FC Dallas have not finished that part of the stadium, I see someone wearing a jersey that says Ricochet 88 on it, right? And I'm like, what is that? Is that like like how Portland Timbers have the double post bar, which is so funny, hilarious, really funny, guys?
Ding, 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 ding.
I was wondering if it was something like that, a reference to something like that, but no, that's actually a professional wrestler named Ricochet, right?
Yes.
And he was at the game supporting, like, he was just, it was a marketing thing showing off AEW, but which is All Elite Wrestling for anybody who doesn't know. But what's funny is the FC Dallas subreddit was having some fun because apparently he's an Eagles fan, but he's in Dallas, right? And there's a massive, Cowboys Eagles massive rivalry between the two. And it was very funny that he was brought out at this Philadelphia Union game. Also, the wrestling subreddit were less enthused by it and made fun of it and kept making fun of him for being bald, with one person saying he's bald, he doesn't have hair to protect his brain from the weather. Someone asked how he could be an Eagles fan and an FC Dallas fan.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
fucking weird. What the hell?
I know.
I gotta
know,
watch
very
this match. I'm gonna be looking out for Ricochet now. That's
Yeah,
insane.
go to the highlights. It's like the 11th minute Anderson Julio miss, and you'll just see in he's walking down the stairs, and I'm like, what does that mean? What Ricochet 88? What is that? And I was fearing the worst because 88, it's a bad number, right? So I was like, oh my god, is this happening? But no, it was a funny wrestling thing.
Why is 88 a bad number?
It's like a Nazi dog whistle.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
1488. If you see those word numbers together, that's bad news.
Basically, yeah, if you'll see him on the Elon app a lot because that's what it is now. Yeah, it's a Nazi dog whistle. So
Let it be known. Daniel
like,
from outside the box, negligent of all Nazi things. Boom. I'm free and clear.
Well, now you're not. Now you're not negligent.
Now you know.
You've
So
been informed
now you got to change your number.
as
in your-
I've
in your
been
name.
informed too. I will try my best to dispel any of that. But is there any? Do we have like a Andrew Carlton wearing number 88 out there somewhere? Is that kind of is that? I'm gonna scour all the MLS sites and see like, yo, you know what this means?
There's only one player who I can think of who's currently wearing 88.
Ricochet.
It's Andrew Farrell. There's only one player in this league that I can think of off the top of my head that actively is wearing 88, and it's Andrew Farrell.
That's his birth. That's not his birth year. All right, Mr. Farrell, we're gonna have to have some conversations. But
I'm not saying anything, Farrell. I'm not saying anything. But
let's get back to the match though. Before I send an email.
Yeah. So another great 0-0. Thank you.
Very fun,
Juanners.
bro. Very fun.
Thank you so much. To be fair, I do love any game with Abubakar in it. I just love his hair. And I think that if we were to make an MLS Mount Rushmore of hairstyles, he'd probably be up there.
Oh yeah.
For me,
Number
I think
one.
I think it's him. I think it's Alexi Lawless. I think it's Jossie Zardes, and I think it's Carlos
Dominic
Valderrama.
Oduro.
Ooh, Maxi Arudi even.
That's a shout, Oduro.
Come on now.
Dude,
You gotta know your MLS hair flares.
I just went out of my way to find this highlight. I have no idea how you spotted that. It took me I just rewatched it like 10 times to be like, what the hell is he talking about?
I guess
That's a great shout.
That sums up the game, right? That's the
Yeah, I
only
was
reason
looking
to
at
go back and watch.
everything else. For
Man.
Philly though, Philly are, again, they're a fantastic team as we all know. But they had 23 shots in this game and only 1 on target. So against a 10 men, like that's not good enough. I noticed that they were doing a lot of creation from like their wingbacks in almost like where you'd expect your 8s to be. They were crossing in from like where you'd expect their 8s to be, and I think that Philly probably have the best wingback in the league for that in Kai Wagner. Ignoring his personal qualms, he is a fantastic left that Philadelphia are obviously very lucky to have.
Kuiper
and
scores if he's in this. Just want to say that.
I mean, if Kuipers is replaced with a Damiani, he probably does. Damiani had like 3 chances that I think he should have put away, and I think a better striker or a more clinical striker would have. And Philadelphia leave here with all 3 points, because really Dallas didn't do much after the red card. It was a lot of just, hey, Anderson, Julio, go, and we'll see if we can find you. And he really only had 1 chance like that where it like the ball landed. Julio tried flicking it over Harriel, who was defending him. It bounced off Harriel into Julio's path, and then Julio shoots it right at the goalkeeper. I actually lost a game in my high school soccer career where I was Harriel in that moment, and it bounced off me, and then we conceded in like the 90th and we lost, which was awesome. And I don't remember it at all, and I'm clearly not beaten up about it. But yeah, other than that, not very much to talk about in this game. That's why this Ricochet thing was so fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, when Ricochet is the biggest thing going for you on MLS Apple Season Pass, you know, you got bigger issues, I think, from an entertainment standpoint. But, you know, one big entertaining standpoint from the league was the collapse of the LA Galaxy. And, you know, week over week, my model tended to say, yeah, bet against LA. Yes, bet against LA. Yup, keep betting against them, right? This time when I put in the lineups, the model came out and said, hey, maybe don't bet on this game at all, because there's, you know, no value to be found. Galaxy at home, you know, against RSL. This is halfway through the season. Fellas, the Galaxy finally get a first win of the season. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that the Galaxy were going to be so bad they don't get a win until Matchday 17, we just lost Jeremy. Welcome back, Jeremy. Welcome back. If you were to tell me the Galaxy were to be in this spot, I would have said you're crazy. I always kind of knew there was some regression due for the Galaxy, but for them to get their first win back here, it's in the middle of the season, quite literally the midpoint of the season. It is it is some good stuff, and it couldn't have happened to a better team, right? Because Salt Lake get the honors here of popping the Galaxy's cherry in the year 2025. And if Salt Lake had won, it extends the nightmare. If LA Galaxy had won, it exposes Salt Lake more. I was thoroughly entertained in this one. Fellas, I know I'll go first with Daniel because I kind of assigned him here, but want to talk broadly about this game, maybe the Galaxy, to close off the podcast, because Lord knows MLS is trying to hype up the Galaxy a little bit. Kevin Egan was like, there's a chance. But I'm here to say there is no chance that the Galaxy make the playoffs.
It's bad enough. It's bad enough that Shawsa Collection said that he would dye his hair pink, I think he said, and shave off his mustache if they did. He's going to dye it blonde and shave off his mustache if they win, which means that he thinks there's no chance, the same way that I'm sure everyone on this panel also thinks there's no chance.
Unless anyone?
Unless Ricky Pooch somehow magically comes back in July.
I don't want to speculate on nonsense, but I think it's really entertaining that Sacha Kljestan is choosing that hill to die on. So good for him.
I will say.
Tell me.
No, go ahead. Yeah, the discourse on RSL Twitter before this game was so depressing. Like, it was just straight up, we are about to give the LA Galaxy their first win of the season. Like, just zero faith in the RSL side from any of their fans. And it was
the Mormons. They're all about faith. So
true. through. I didn't even piece that together. You fucking legend. Yeah, no, just hilarious way to continue your unbeaten streak to now 7 games. Sorry, not unbeaten streak. Winless streak to 7 games against the LA Galaxy, who I really thought there was a chance that they were not going to win a game till August. My only takeaways, since there isn't a whole lot to take away, is Nascimento. I think he's firmly cemented himself as the starting striker and probably the striker of the future. I believe he's on loan. I would just loan to buy him. I think he's going to be a really good player. Killer Peas finally getting an assist and a goal. And I think Fagundez really slotted in nicely for Royce, who is out until, let me look.
You don't have to look.
He's
It's
out
not gonna
until
make a
end of June.
difference. It's not going to make a
No,
difference.
he doesn't make a difference. I feel like him and Fagundez are interchangeable.
I said last year that the Royce signing made no sense, and that was a stupid move to make ahead of the cap compliancy that they fucking went through. And so this is your reward for going the way of the stars. Going the way of the stars. What should we call that? The stars theory? If you're a star in the on the global scale, you're not going to be one here. I guess Messi trumps that one, right? But Messi's not a star. He's a GOAT, right? So beyond that, though, like the Galaxy, like I'm glad they got the win out the way here against RSL. It means that a future loss against the Rapids is not going to sting as much. I'm saying that 2 hours, 36 minutes into the podcast here for a reason. But beyond that, RSL, I want to say, because you guys remember how bullish I was on the fact that Diego Gonçalves was their DP? Well, they're not so bullish anymore on him. They actually left him home for this one.
Yeah. Was it Agata? Did Agata start over him?
Yes.
Well, no, it's not even because Agata's a striker, right? And Gonçalves is more of like the left wing. He was kind of the 10 until they figured out Diego Luna's is kind of a better 10. But then they figured out Xavier Gozo. I think he's 19. He's a teen-year-old, a young, dynamic, attacking player. The RSL's doing it again. They're tapping into the thing that makes them good, and that's their youth development. Gozo is officially played Gonçalves off the pitch. Not only that, but Gonçalves is also reportedly sat due to attitude issues. So I'm thinking this is a great thing for them, honestly. Because despite the fact that the Rapids have a shit DP and Kevin Cabral, at least he still shows up to work and is not causing issues and having an attitude about things. So thank you in that sense, Kevin Cabral. Any other things from this one, Daniel, or the rest of the squad before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I thought Gozo, Agata, and Marchuk both missed a ton of chances. Really, this was a game that I felt like they should have won. And I'm not as high on the Agata signing right now as I was, say, 3 weeks ago when it got finalized? 4 weeks ago now? A month?
Well, he lost all his aura. He could have gone
he
anywhere.
Lost all of his aura.
He could have gone anywhere else, and he would have been fine. He could have gone anywhere else, and he would have been fine.
He legitimately missed 2 or 3 goal opportunities. I would love to see what his expected goals were for this game. I didn't even look it up.
Josh, are you shocked by that?
That Agata missed a lot of chances? No,
that he lost his aura.
Oh, that he lost his aura? No, yeah, I'm I think, I don't know. Because I never really expected him to have the aura that he did. And when he kind of burst on the scene for us when he joined. So I was thinking like maybe he can recover it quickly. But yeah, it doesn't seem like that's the case. No, I'm not really shocked about it. I was just that's my guy, you know.
Valid. Any other closing thoughts here, Jeremy, on either of these two teams?
I'm disappointed in both of them. That's it.
That's the best.
All right, I'm disappointed in both of them. I feel like that'd be a good title if it wasn't here.
That's your podcast name.
But maybe. Yeah, I mean, with that being said, this was a very quick week. 13 games in total. So we did not touch on the Rapids, Timbers. I mean, we did talk about LA and Vancouver, but Rapids and Timbers, if you missed it, Jeremy hopped on the Burgundy Banter episode with me and Judge Jim to talk about that one. So if you're starved for some extra Timbers Rapids content, Burgundy Banter, as always, is where you go. But where do they go to follow the rest of the fellas, Daniel?
You go to X, the Everything app. You type in Vox Pro MLS into the search bar, and you look for the first guy that says Major League Chill. Also, click the notification icon on the Box State Footy YouTube because we have a banger coming next week with the mid-season recap / adjustments.
Yes, the adjustments episode where we rewrite our predictions in the middle of the season and try not to get it completely wrong after a second shot. Joss, where can they find you?
Go to the replies of MLS Shill and look for Josh Bathtub. That is I. You can also find me at Off to See the Wizards if you're looking for great content about sporting Kansas City, the Kansas City Current, soccer in general. Sometimes we make fun of St. Louis. But yeah, most of the time I'm just in Daniel's mentions watching him take on an entire legion of Euro snobs.
He's real good at that, to be honest. So
He is. He's in the trenches.
I'm an onlooker. I should probably like and retweet a bit more, but I see that as well. So my salute to your service, Daniel.
Appreciate it.
Jeremy, where can they find you?
You can find me on the app that Daniel owns pretty much nowadays on at Sports Guy Jeremy. That's the Elon app, who actually does own it. You can find me on Bluesky, jeremypeterman.bsky.social, and you can read my work at cascadiafc.substack.com, and where we cover all the Cascadia teams, where the Portland Timbers won the bye week this past weekend. Pretty cool. You know, it's just like being a Jets fan, winning the bye week.
You can find me at Juanners715 on Twitter. Despite him owning it, it's not his. What I will say, it belongs to Daniel. So you can
Belongs to the shareholders.
Gross. At Juanners715. Juanners.bsky.social. Follow Box State Footy. You can do that easily. Just go to the website, boxstatefooty.com. You can see all the links to the Substack, the Instagram, the TikTok. I put out a Lindsay Heaps TikTok, and it's doing really well. It's got like 2,000 views. And so if player edits are the way to go, I will do them, and I will be more than happy to do them for the women's national team, so long as like Heaps, they are from the Box State. But this has been Outside the Box, an MLS podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. Stay tuned for the rest of the Box State Footy channels. We got Dave Wegner joining Burgundy Banter. That's going to be a big C38 SG episode. Send in your questions. There's a lot to cover when it comes to C38 and Mr. Dave himself. So send in your questions. I'll be at the Dick this weekend for some Rapids during international break. But that'll be it from us. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see ya when we see ya. Bye-bye.